Chapter 224. When this vast and majestic aura swept out from Su Yi's body, the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros that was galloping like a small mountain stopped abruptly. Its footsteps slid across the ground for a few feet, and its fierce gaze was instantly replaced by shock. Su Yi stood upright. His thin body was like a mountain. His robe and hair fluttered in the wind, and there was a faint scarlet fluctuation in his eyes. The iron-armored demonic rhinoceros stared at Su Yi. Its astonished gaze was filled with doubt. It stared at Su Yi carefully as if it was prying for something. No, you're a human. You might have treasures that are related to the demon clan, or your cultivation technique might be related to the demon clan. The iron-armored demonic rhinoceros stared at Su Yi and carefully sensed the aura on Su Yi's body. It judged that Su Yi's aura was not of the demon clan, but of a human. Perhaps he had some treasures that were related to the demon clan. Su Yi was shocked. He had been worried that the aura of the Origin Supreme technique would not be able to intimidate those powerful savage demonic beasts. It seemed that it was true. With his cultivation at the second level of the profound Origin realm, how could he intimidate those demon illusionary realm and demon monarch realm experts? I feel that you have a secret. Perhaps if I eat you, I can prolong my life. The astonishment in the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros's eyes was immediately replaced by surprise. Its eyes were filled with anticipation as the scarlet red light surged. Not good. Su Yi's expression changed. He originally thought that he could intimidate the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros with the Origin Supreme technique and buy time for everyone before retreating. However, Su Yi did not expect that the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros would not be intimidated. Instead, it had its eyes on him. Run! Without hesitation, Su Yi turned around and fled. Su Yi did not intend to make a move against a demonic illusionary realm brute beast expert, even if it was a demonic illusionary realm brute beast expert who was on the verge of death. He knew that it would be futile and useless. Chi! Su Yi's speed was fast. Under the Azura's Hunter transformation steps, he left behind a series of afterimages. Oh! However, the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros was even faster. Its huge body dashed forward, and its huge hoof blocked in front of Su Yi like an iron wall. As Su Yi turned around, the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros's hind legs were already sweeping towards him. Swish! There was no time to dodge. Su Yi drew the Yuanqi weapon saber on his back. Essence surged in his meridians and gathered in the saber. The second move of the three Berserk Dragon sabers, Berserk Dragon Tornado Chop, was the Berserk Dragon Tornado Chop. Swish! The swift and fierce saber light rotated, carrying a light like an arc of electricity, like a crescent moon, as it streaked across the belly of the rhinoceros. The faint light shadow was like the shadow of a dragon that flashed and disappeared. Boom! This blade contained a terrifying pressure. It was fierce and violent, and sand and pebbles flew in all directions like a dancing dragon. Clang, clang, clang. In an instant, the blade light and the iron-armored rhino's giant hooves collided, causing sparks to fly and a strong wind to shoot out in all directions, causing the surrounding ground to crack. Poochie! In a short contact, Su Yi was directly sent flying. Blood spurted out of his mouth, and the blood in his body was in turmoil. He fiercely smashed into the ground. Under the blade light, the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros's giant hooves only left a shallow mark on the ground. Immediately, it recovered to its original state without any damage. Boom! Su Yi wanted to get up and quickly escape, but it was too late. A giant hoof directly stomped down, as if 100,000 mountains were falling. Puff! The Yuanqi weapon in Su Yi's hand had already fallen somewhere. His body was heavily pressed down, and he was powerless to struggle. Another mouthful of blood spurted out. Oh! The iron-armored demonic rhinoceros roared, shaking the surroundings like thunder in the night. Then its giant hooves flipped and directly swallowed Su Yi into its mouth. No longer chasing after Shangwan Shiwei and the others, the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros turned and left. Not good. Brother Isu was swallowed by the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros. Brother Isu, Shangguan Rock, Shangguan Yu, and the others ran as fast as they could. From afar, they just happened to see Su Yi being swallowed by the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros. They immediately cried out in alarm, and their bodies trembled. I want to say Brother Isu, Shangguan Rock, Shangguan Yi, and Shangguan Yu suddenly stopped in their tracks. They unsheathed their swords and turned around to chase after the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros. They had already forgotten that they were no match for the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros. None of you are a match for the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros. Quickly retreat. I'll go save him. Shangguan Shiwei's beautiful face turned pale, and her expression changed greatly. She clenched her twin blades tightly and shouted at Shangguan Rock and the others to run first. She was about to chase after the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros. Su Tianke also stopped. He turned around and looked at the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros that swallowed Su Yi. His small eyes flickered and then emitted a red light. Evil beast, I'll kill you. Su Tiang's short wings flapped, and his small eyes emitted a red light. His short legs were extremely fast, and his speed suddenly increased. He chased after the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros. His speed far surpassed Shangguan Shiwei and the others. Shangguan Shiwei was stunned when she saw Su Tianke chasing after Su Yi, but she quickly followed after him. However, it didn't take long for the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros and Su Tianke to disappear. Shangguan Shiwei's expression was dignified. She stood at a fork in the road. Her face was pale, and her eyes were moist. Her pearly white teeth were biting her red lips, and there was a trace of dark red blood flowing out. Su Yi's surroundings were pitch black. Everything was swaying, and his breathing was weak. It was difficult for him to summon his strength. There was a thick layer of mucus around him, and it surged toward Su Yi like a tide. The mucus emitted a faint green light, and it seemed to have a corrosive power that could corrode clothes. More importantly, this mucus could also corrode vitality. This is the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros's stomach. Su Yi's heart trembled. He knew that he had been swallowed by the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros. Fast P on asterisk L. Fortunately, the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros wasn't a wild beast that would chew and swallow its food. Otherwise, he would have been turned into minced meat. However, at this moment, Su Yi was at a loss for what to do with the glowing mucus. The mucus surged and wrapped around him, corroding everything. Su Yi could clearly feel that the last bit of vitality in his body was being corroded at an extremely fast speed. Once his vitality was completely corroded, he would be in deep trouble. Su Yi struggled and released his last bit of vitality. However, Su Yi was helpless in this mucus. The mucus was like a superglue, binding everything, and Su Yi couldn't move. No, I can't die yet. Su Yi struggled. He didn't want to die yet, so he used all his strength. However, at this moment, everything seemed to be restricted. Although Su Yi could use his vitality, it was suppressed. The soul power in his mind seemed to be affected by the mucus, and Su Yi couldn't gather it. Therefore, he couldn't use the skills of a soul controller. Chapter 2:25. The viscous liquid glowed with an eerie green light that was slowly corroding everything. Am I really going to die this time? Many times, Su Yi had faced life-threatening situations. Many times, he even had one foot in the jaws of death. However, he never gave up and was always able to turn the situation around. This time, Su Yi had a feeling of helplessness. Was he going to be buried in the belly of this iron-armored demonic rhino? Little bastard, you're courting death. Su Yi heard a clear and loud shout. That voice was all too familiar. Roar. Bang, bang, bang. Roars and muffled sounds of energy were heard continuously. Su Tianke. Su Yi was stunned. That was Su Tiang's voice. Su Tianke had caught up with him. Outside, there was a constant tremor. It was as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was cracking. The roars were earth-shattering, as if there was a fierce battle going on. Wrapped in the viscous liquid, Su-yi was like a piece of driftwood in a stormy sea. He was dizzy from the impact. "You're courting death." The iron-armored rhinoceros's furious roar was deafening. Even Su-yi, who was wrapped in the viscous liquid, felt a stinging pain in his eardrums. Su-tianke seems to be at a disadvantage. Listening to the commotion outside, Su-yi felt that Su-tianke was no match for the iron-armored rhinoceros. "No, I don't want to die yet. I have to help Su-tianke." Su-yi's eyes glowed. He had never given up. Broken sword. At this moment, the yuan weapon had fallen. The only thing he could use was the broken sword. Wrapped in the viscous liquid, Su-yi raised his hand with great difficulty and held the broken sword tightly in his hand. At this moment, Su-yi's primordial chi was running low due to the corrosion of the viscous liquid. His clothes were also corroding. Swish, waving his hand with great difficulty, Su-yi wanted to pierce through the viscous liquid with the broken sword. The viscous liquid was too strong. It seemed to have sensed Su-yi's movement. As if it had a mind of its own, the viscous liquid continuously wrapped around Su-yi's arms and the broken sword, binding them tightly. 0% latest P chapter upper X, Z. No matter how Su-yi struggled, it was useless. The bindings became tighter and tighter. At the same time, it corroded everything and devoured his primordial chi. "I'm going to die." Su-yi's heart. He's primordial chaos, supreme origin. The primordial chi in his dantian's primordial chi whirlpool, the primordial chaos. The primordial chi in his primordial chi whirlpool. Calm. Suddenly, at this moment, for some unknown reason, the thousand-caddy broken sword suddenly flashed with light. The light was resplendent, and a monstrous sword chi instantly gushed out. Suddenly, from the broken sword, a surge of power spread into Su-yi's body, causing the already dispirited Su-yi to instantly recover to his peak. This surge of power was unprecedented. At the same time, Su-yi's vision blurred as he felt a monstrous killing intent rushing towards him along with the surging power. It was as if he saw a scene of blood flowing like a river and bones piling up in front of him. This killing intent was too terrifying. It was as if it wanted to destroy everything. Even with Su-yi's current physical strength, under the impact of this killing intent, his body trembled. It was as if he was about to be crushed under the sweeping, killing intent. Puff! Su-yi couldn't help but spit out blood. He couldn't bear it at all. At this time, the mysterious space that Su-yi couldn't activate just now emitted a light in his mind. A vast and majestic aura swept out, and the killing intent dissipated. Buzz, buzz. The killing intent disappeared. The sword light was still as sonorous as the wind and thunder. That terrifying aura was like a monstrous beast awakening. Swish! The sword aura was monstrous, and the sword light was dazzling. It was as if a sun was rising in the mucus. The terrifying sword light exploded, and the surrounding mucus crumbled inch by inch like tofu. Ew! At this moment, the iron rhinoceros let out a violent roar outside. Its eyes were filled with shock. Su-yi was stunned. He didn't expect that the 1,000-pound broken sword, which had been silent all this time, would suddenly erupt with such a terrifying sound. But it was only for a moment. Su-yi didn't hesitate. He held the broken sword tightly and slashed out like a dragon. Swish! Wherever the sword light passed, the iron rhinoceros's body was directly cut open. Everything turned into a bloody mist, and a passage appeared in the bloody mess. A deep but glowing ball of light, which was the size of a fist, rotated in the bloody mist in front of him. The demon pill of the iron rhinoceros. Su-yi's eyes moved. It was the demon pill of the iron rhinoceros. Not good. Suddenly, Su-yi's expression changed. Before the sword light dissipated, it was extremely fierce and directly cut the demon pill into pieces. At the same time, the body of the iron rhinoceros was directly shattered from the inside out. Bang, bang, bang. The sword light rushed out from the inside out, accompanied by a bloody mist. Under the night sky, the bloody light bloomed like fireworks. Ew! Such a mournful roar finally resounded in the darkness before dawn. A ball of surging flames filled the air like a fiery sun. The surging flames whistled like a boiling sea of fire, covering the sky and covering the earth, as if they wanted to cover the entire world. After Su-Yi destroyed the iron-armored demon rhinoceros, the first thing he saw was a small figure within the astonishing fireball. His entire body was wrapped in magma-like flames. The figure was the size of a rooster, with a long neck and a sharp mouth. There seemed to be a golden meatball on the top of his head, like a coxcomb, a pair of short legs with 5 claws spread out, and a pair of short wings with a layer of fluffy red feathers. At this moment, the pair of small eyes seemed to contain a blazing sea of fire. Who else could it be but Su-Tianke? What a pity, what a pity. This is the demon pill. You actually destroyed it. Su-Tianke was not happy to see Su-Yi. He did not even look at Su-Yi, but at the shattered demon pill of the iron rhinoceros. The fist-sized demon core was shattered into pieces, turning into a black liquid that floated in the air at the height of half a man. The liquid did not disperse, but it was shining, and there was a mist of energy rising. The flames around Su-Tianke disappeared. He rushed over and opened his mouth to swallow the shattered demon pill. Demon pill, precious treasure. Su-Yi's eyes flickered, and he instinctively dashed out. He was already closer to Su-Tianke, and when he saw Su-Tianke opening his mouth to swallow the energy, he couldn't let this glutton take it all for himself. He opened his mouth and swallowed it. Walala! The liquid formed from the shattered Yao core was instantly devoured by the man and the beast as they fought for it. The liquid was then sucked into their mouths. Su-Yi had only absorbed a third of the broken Yao cores. Su-Tianke had taken advantage of the situation and absorbed most of it. However, when the liquid entered his body, there was no reaction at first. It only tasted a little bitter and fishy. However, a few seconds later, the demonic core liquid turned into a surge of energy in Su-Yi's body and directly rushed out. This surge of energy was too violent. It was many times more powerful than when Su-Yi swallowed the spiritual liquid in the mysterious space. The impact made his internal organs, bones, and muscles feel like they were about to be torn apart. The pain was unbearable. Quickly refine the energy of the demon pill. Chapter 226. Su-Yi screamed in agony. The broken demon core turned into a surge of energy, as if it was about to explode his body. If it weren't for Su-Yi's strong body, his body would have exploded. The energy contained in the liquid monster core was insane. It was much more terrifying than any of the elixirs and treasures that Su-Yi had taken before. This abnormal amount of energy was too surging. It made Su-Yi's meridians, muscles, and internal organs feel like they were being torn apart. The excruciating pain was unbearable. Upon hearing Su-Tianke shout, Su-Yi immediately sat down cross-legged and activated the Origin Supreme technique to refine the insane energy from the monster core in his body. Rumble. A surge of energy rushed through Su-Yi's body, like countless ferocious beasts galloping. Walala. As Su-Yi activated the Origin Supreme technique, he began to absorb and refine the surging energy. Under the activation of Su-Yi's Origin Supreme technique, the surging energy flowed through his meridians and began to transform into pure vitality. Although he had already begun to refine the insane energy, the speed of refinement was far from enough to offset the impact of the energy on Su-Yi. Su-Yi's entire body trembled, and his face twitched to the point of malevolence. Dense beads of cold sweat dripped from his forehead. The excruciating pain caused by the terrifying energy in his body was unbearable for ordinary people. Fortunately, Su-Yi was no ordinary person. He gritted his teeth and resisted the pain forcefully. The constant twitching pain in his body made Su-Yi suffer unspeakably. He didn't expect the liquid of the broken Yao Dan to be so terrifying. However, there was no other way. Su-Yi could only try his best to refine it. Otherwise, the surging energy would cause his body to explode sooner or later. This is the energy of a monster core. It's a precious treasure. Since I've absorbed it, I'll refine it. Su-yi gritted his teeth. Although the energy of a monster core was terrifying, he would benefit greatly if he refined it. He had even killed the iron-armored rhinoceros. Could it be that he couldn't refine some of the demonic core's energy? Since he had already consumed the energy of the monster core, Su-yi didn't think too much about it. Besides clenching his teeth and persevering, there was nothing else he could do. Thus, Su-yi's mind gradually calmed down as he endured the excruciating pain in his body. He sat down cross-legged and began to refine the monster core energy in his body. In any case, there was no other way. Su-yi simply calmed his heart, gritted his teeth, and endured the pain of the energy impact. He began to comprehend and cultivate in his mind. Along the way, all sorts of dangerous situations, and experiences were replaying in Su-yi's mind as he began to comprehend them. Gradually, Su-yi sank into a strange state of comprehension. At this moment, if there were any experts present, they would be shocked to see Su-yi in such a state. Generally speaking, without reaching the level of Yuanjin realm, it was simply difficult for martial artists to enter such a state of comprehension. Even martial artists who were soul controllers would find it difficult to enter. Comprehension, cultivation. Su-yi's cultivation was at the Yuanjin realm, but at this moment, he had entered such a state of comprehension. It was unbelievable. In fact, this had something to do with Su-yi's talent. At the same time, it was also because Su-yi came with his past life. In addition, all this time, Su-yi's heart was wholeheartedly focused on cultivation. He was able to put down everything for cultivation and only wanted to become a strong expert. To a certain extent, Su-yi was also a person with great perseverance when it came to cultivation. Therefore, Su-yi was able to enter the state of comprehension when he was only at the Yuanjin realm. Entering the state of comprehension had endless benefits for cultivation. On a mountaintop, the young men and women of Spirit Ancient Village stood together. Everyone's face was filled with grief. They had gone back to search for a day and night, but they still couldn't find any trace of the iron-armored demon rhinoceros. Brother Yi-su, for our sake, even though he knew he was no match for the iron-armored demon rhinoceros, he still stopped it. We owe him 2 lives. Shangwan Rock's eyes were wet with grief. We all owe Yi-su 2 lives. Shangwan Yu and Shangwan Yi were also very sad. They looked into the distance. Their eyes were lifeless. The other young men and women didn't say anything. They were all very sad. As we go deeper into the mountains, there will be more and more powerful barbaric beasts. Let's go back first and ask the village's experts to come and find the iron-armored demon rhinoceros. Shangwan Shiwei's pearly white teeth were slightly opened. Her red lips were slightly parted. Her eyes were moist, and her fair face looked very haggard. She knew in her heart that the village's experts had probably found the iron-armored demon rhinoceros, and everything was settled. In order to save everyone, he died in the mouth of the iron-armored demon rhinoceros. If we go back now, what about the meat of the barbaric beasts? Shangwan Xiu asked. She was also very sad. She had a good impression of Su-yi, and she asked Su-yi the most questions. However, everyone was here for the hunt, and they needed to bring back the barbaric beast meat. They would need it during the festival. Let's go back to the place we were at yesterday. Those barbaric beasts killed each other, and there were many corpses left behind. With the strength of those barbaric beasts, they intimidated everyone yesterday. The low-level barbaric beasts shouldn't dare to come close for a while. We just need to bring back the corpses of those barbaric beasts. Shangwan Shiwei furrowed her brows. She looked into the distance, and her eyes became blurred. Brother Yi-su, we're sorry. We couldn't even find your corpse. Forgive us. When we go back to the village, we'll definitely ask the village's experts to come. At least we'll find your corpse and bury it. Shangwan Rock looked into the distance and said. His fists were clenched tightly, and his eyes were filled with guilt. Su-yi's eyes were closed. His body was enveloped in a dazzling light, and a deep, faint black light shone brightly. The light was clearly black but it gave people a dazzling feeling. As time passed, the intense pain brought about by the surging energy in Su Yi's body gradually subsided. However, this kind of reduction didn't have much of an effect on Su Yi. That was because the energy from the beast core was too surging. Within the Yuan Qi vortex in his dantian, strands of pure Yuan Qi poured in. They were all refined by the energy from the beast core. Strands of pure Yuan Qi gathered in the Yuan Qi vortex in his dantian, causing the aura on Su Yi's body to rise continuously. It reached a stage where it was full and expanding. Rumble. As the Yuan Qi vortex in Su Yi's dantian became more and more abundant, the speed of the Yuan Qi in his dantian became faster and faster. It was like a storm, and it let out a low rumbling sound like wind and thunder. As the Yuan Qi continued to pour in, it became more and more abundant. In the end, the Yuan Qi vortex could no longer store anymore. Bang! Chapter 227. Third level of the Yuan Profound Realm. Sensing the breakthrough, Su Yi suddenly opened his eyes. Although the surging energy in his body was still pounding against his body, causing him unbearable pain, Su Yi couldn't help but smile. Breaking through another level so quickly wasn't slow at all. It was also at this moment that Su Yi's expression suddenly changed again. The slight smile that had just formed immediately sank. Not good. Su Yi smiled bitterly. There was still a large amount of monster core energy in his body that had yet to be refined. However, following Su Yi's breakthrough, it seemed to have imperceptibly affected the surrounding energy of heaven and earth. As the surrounding energy of heaven and earth surged towards Su Yi, it drove the monster core energy in his body. Suddenly, an unforeseen event occurred. The sudden change shocked Su Yi, but it wasn't unfamiliar to him. Back when Su Yi swallowed the spiritual liquid in the mysterious space, he had also encountered such a situation. The surrounding energy of heaven and earth that had been imperceptibly pulled in, as well as the unrefined energy in Su Yi's body, directly rushed into his dantian qi si and compressed again in an instant. As a result, a strange scene occurred. When a monster core energy rushed over along with the energy of heaven and earth, it was quickly refined by the Origin Supreme technique. Then, it rushed into the dantian qi si like a flood. At this moment, everything seemed to be accelerating. The surging and abnormal monster core energy was quickly refined. Along with the invisible energy of heaven and earth, it turned into Yuan Qi and crazily rushed into Su Yi's dantian qi si. It was incomparably ferocious. Everything was like a bomb that ignited the fuse. Su Yi's aura continued to soar. The dantian qi si was like a hurricane that swept through. If anyone were to see this, they would be incomparably shocked. Bang! Not long after, a muffled sound came from Su Yi's dantian qi si again. The dantian qi si's dantian qi si grew larger and larger. Violent Yuan Qi fluctuations and energy surged. It wasn't over yet. This astonishing scene continued and couldn't be stopped. Bang! Bang! Not long after, two more muffled sounds came from the vortex in his dantian. Su Yi's aura had reached a new level. Everything was like a hot knife through butter, like a bolt of lightning, 6th level essence soul realm. Su Yi was stunned. He could clearly feel that he was getting stronger again and again. The feeling of getting stronger was incomparable. However, this feeling also made Su Yi extremely worried. Hula, the formless energy of heaven and earth was still surging in, as if it was endless. As the energy of the monster cores in Su Yi's body interacted with each other, it had also become violent. Within Su Yi's Yuan Qi vortex, Yuan Qi was still surging in. A large amount of Yuan Qi rushed into the Yuan Qi vortex. Su Yi continued to grow stronger, and the aura on his body continued to rise at a terrifying speed. QZ Initial 7. Send, however. This climb gave Su Yi an incomparable sense of satisfaction, but also made Su Yi feel absolutely worried. Such continuous breakthroughs were definitely not a good thing. The last time it happened, Su Yi had stopped it. A skyscraper had to be built from the ground. Everything had to be done step by step. If this continued, it would only do more harm than good. Furthermore, he was still building his foundation. I can't continue like this. I have to stop. Su-Yi gritted his teeth and roared inwardly. He forcefully controlled the Yuan Qi and Monster Core's energy in his body. He circulated the primordial chaos supreme technique to sever the connection between his body and the external energy. He forcefully compressed the Yuan Qi that had rushed into the Yuan Qi vortex in his dantian. This process was very difficult. It was like he was looking for abuse. To sever everything, to stop the breakthrough, it was like trying to reverse the flow of the river. However, Su-Yi wanted to forcefully sever it. He could not continue breaking through like this. Walala, the surrounding energy of heaven and earth was forcibly cut off by Su-Yi. The rising aura on his body was also forcefully compressed. However, this pain made Su-Yi suffer the most painful torture at this moment. It was as if his body was being torn apart by several terrifying forces at the same time. His body was about to explode at any time. If it were not for his extraordinary physical body, Su-Yi would not have been able to withstand it. At this moment, if there were experts present, they would probably be secretly shocked. As a warrior, no one would be able to resist the incomparable temptation in the face of a breakthrough. However, Su-Yi withstood it. Such determination and tenacity were difficult to compare. After a long time, everything calmed down. The energy of heaven and earth was forcibly cut off by Su-Yi. The Monster Core's energy in his body was forcibly isolated by Su-Yi and no longer refined. This isolation was much more difficult than the last time. Su-Yi paid the price and spat out a mouthful of blood. Clearly, he had just broken through, but at this moment, Su-Yi's face was pale. However, the aura was sufficient, and he did not continue to break through. This made Su-Yi's mouth curve into a smile. He closed his eyes and began to adjust his breathing. The sky was dark, and the afterglow of the setting sun covered the vast mountains. In the dense forest, there were no less than 20 young men and women gathered together. In the lead was a young man who looked to be about 15 or 16 years old. He was riding a huge tiger. The tiger's aura was fierce, and its body was glowing. The light in its eyes was incomparably terrifying. "Tiger Cub, what should we do now? We've been searching for 2 days, and we still can't find the people from Spirit Ancient Village. Did they go back?" A young man asked the young man who was riding the tiger. They had come to look for the people from Spirit Ancient Village. However, it had been 2 days since they arrived at Demon Azure Mountain, and they had not even seen a shadow of them. They must still be here. Maybe they want to hunt some high-level savage beasts. This time, we must not let them go. Continue to search. The young man who was called Tiger Cub said with a cold smile. It was not easy to prepare to go up Demon Azure Mountain. How could he let them go so easily? At night, the bright moon hung high in the sky and the moonlight poured down. "Brother Xiong-Lai, where are the people from Spirit Ancient Village? Why haven't I seen any of them?" In the forest, there were 20 young men and women gathered around a bonfire. Behind these 20 young men and women, there were many savage beasts as mounts. Among them, there was a huge bear that looked fierce. Its eyes were glowing, and it was emitting a terrifying and ferocious aura. The moonlight shrouded everything, making it hazy. Su-Yi closed his eyes and adjusted his breathing again. His body was covered in light, and traces of blazing aura were emitted. There was still a lot of energy from the Monster Core that had not been refined. Su-Yi could feel that the remaining energy and the compressed energy in his body had sunk into his blood, flesh, bones, meridians, and internal organs. It was as though they had disappeared. In terms of cultivation, Su-Yi was about to step into the peak of the 6th level of the Yuan Profound Realm. He was about to continue breaking through, but it was cut off. And now, Su-Yi was still compressing his aura. Chapter 228. Boom! The aura on Su-Yi's body had completely calmed down. Around Su-Yi, who was seated cross-legged, an aura that was many times more powerful than before spread out from his body, as if it had been awakened. It was accompanied by an extremely majestic and destructive aura. Tisich, both of Su Yi's eyes abruptly opened. Two dazzling rays of light shot out from within his eyes at the same time, as if they had materialized. However, this ray of light only flashed before his eyes for a brief moment before it slowly receded, returning to its tenacious and profound state. 6th level Yuan Profound Stage. Astonishment slowly surfaced on Su Yi's face as he immediately felt the changes within his body. It was still somewhat difficult for him to regain his senses. Su Yi's astonishment was not entirely due to the fact that his cultivation had already reached the 6th level Yuan Profound Stage. After severing the consecutive breakthroughs, his cultivation was already close to the peak of the 6th level Yuan Profound Stage. Instead, it was Su Yi who had exerted great willpower to forcefully suppress the Yuan Qi within his body and the aura on his body. In the end, his cultivation finally stabilized at the initial 6th level Yuan Profound Stage. From the initial late 2nd level Yuan Profound Stage to the current 6th level Yuan Profound Stage. This was 4 levels in a row. How could Su Yi not be astonished? The higher one's cultivation level, the more difficult it was to break through. Back when Su Yi consumed the spirit essence liquid, he had only broken through 3 levels from the 3rd level to the 6th level of the spirit essence stage. However, that was still within the spirit essence stage. Now, Su Yi had broken through from the 2nd level to the 6th level of the Yuan Profound Stage. Just the difference between the 2nd level and the 3rd level of the Yuan Profound Stage was already incomparable to the Spirit Essence stage back then. What made Su even more astonished was that although he had broken through 4 levels in a row, he could still feel that there was still an extremely surging Yao core energy within his body that had yet to be refined. The Yao core energy was immersed within his bones, muscles, and limbs. It was as if it could burst out at any time and erupt at any time. However, at this moment, this energy was immersed in his body. Although it was still extremely large, it did not go berserk. It was as if Su Yi had forcefully suppressed it. Su Yi could feel that he had refined less than 20 to 30% of the enormous energy contained within the monster core. There was still a large portion that had yet to be refined. He had only refined 20 to 30% of it. Yet it had already allowed him to break through 4 levels of the Origin Profound Realm. How frightening was this energy? Feeling his body, a smile appeared on Su Yi's face as he looked at the shocked expression on his face. Compared to when he was at the 2nd level of the Yuan Profound Realm, the Yuan Qi whirlpool in his dantian was filled to the brim with Yuan Qi. It wasn't just 2 times, wasn't just a few times, it was 10 times. Even the soul power in his mind had increased tremendously. Clenching his fists slightly, Su Yi could feel a surge of energy surging within his body. It could be used at any time. This feeling gave Su Yi a feeling that if he were to face the barbaric heavenly leopard, who was at the 5th level of the demon profound realm, he would be able to crush it as if it was nothing. He could even surpass it and suppress it directly. There seems to be a change, Su Yi muttered. Other than the Yuan Qi within his body, his physical body and soul power had increased. There were also changes in other places. Using his mind power, Su Yi could feel that the mysterious space in his mind had also changed. Looking around, Su Yi realized that he was surrounded by a rocky peak. The surrounding area was filled with towering ancient trees. The rugged rocks were covered with dragon-like tree vines. Not far away, there were scattered bones and bloodstains left behind by the slain, iron-armored demonic rhinoceros. On top of the rocky peak, a belt of light appeared in the air. It should be early in the morning. The sun had just risen, and there was a layer of white mist fluctuating from the belt of light. It was misty and hazy. Su Yi saw Su Tianke not far away. The small figure was wrapped in a ring of light that was like a flame. It was filled with a blazing aura and radiance. It was very mysterious. Su Yi was not sure about Su Tianke's background. As for the land of the peacock, Su Yi did not believe it. It was said that peacocks had long disappeared from the world. However, Su Yi was sure that Su Tianke had a background. At the very least, it was not simple. This place seemed to be safe for a short period of time. He did not know how long he had stayed here, but there were no wild beasts approaching. He raised his eyebrows and called out the mysterious space. This is... In the mysterious space, He raised his eyes and was surprised. At this moment, the entire space was filled with ripples of divine light. There was a majestic aura that seemed to have crossed the ancient times and descended. What really surprised was that the mysterious space, which was originally 5,000 feet in radius, had more than doubled in size. At a glance, the mysterious space was not small anymore. The energy of heaven and earth was still dense in the space with a radius of 10,000 feet. The surroundings were hazy and emitted a faint glow. It was just that when the space was 5,000 feet in size, there was a mist of energy everywhere. It did not dissipate for a long time and floated in the void. At this moment, the energy was much weaker, but it was still very dense. It was still far superior to that paradise. Sir, the barbarian beasts began to gather around them in the language of the beasts. Whoosh, whoosh. Two tiny golden figures shot out and landed on Suyi's shoulders like two rays of yellow light. They began to act intimately. It was Debeo and Xiaoling. The other wild beasts were the fire-eyed barbaric tiger, golden python, red-fired demon mink, and blazing barbaric bird that had been cultivating in the mysterious space. He raised his head and glanced at the barbaric beasts one by one. Sensing their auras, a smile appeared on his face. From the auras of the wild beasts, he could tell that they had broken through. In fact, it wasn't just a small breakthrough. You guys are in the demon profound realm. He looked to the side and felt Debeo and Xiaoling's auras. His heart couldn't help but skip a beat. Debeo and Xiaoling's auras were very clear. They were in the first level of the demon profound realm. Gulp, gulp. He swallowed his saliva as his throat felt hot. %8H Everyone knew that wild beasts were different from humans. Wild beasts were born with strong physical bodies or naturally gifted. At the very least, they were either agile or tough. However, the heavens were fair. Generally speaking, wild beast cultivation speed was much slower than humans. For the profound origin realm, a normal human cultivator with decent talent would need to cultivate for more than 10 years. However, a wild beast would need at least 10 years to reach the profound demon profound realm. But now Debeo and Xiaoling's auras were in the first level of the demon profound realm. Chapter 229. It takes dozens of years for a barbaric beast to reach the demon profound realm. But Debeo and Little Ling did it in just a few months. How could Sui not be shocked? My lord, we broke through to the demon profound realm. Those spirit whiskers are treasures. Debeo and Little Ling also transmitted their tongues to Sui. Their tongues flickered as they intimately wrapped themselves around Sui. They ate the blood jasper spirit ginseng's spirit whiskers and refined them, which allowed them to break through to the demon profound realm. Not bad, Sui praised. He thought of something. Debeo and Little Ling had benefited from the blood jasper spirit ginseng's spirit whiskers, but the biggest reason was probably related to this mysterious space. Back then, the golden python, the scarlet-fired demon mink, and the white jade mystic bird all received the inheritance in the mysterious space and became different. Main hashtag Y1. ZAs for Debeo and Little Ling. When they were in the egg, they seemed to have benefited from the mysterious space. Therefore, Sui thought that the reason why Debeo and Little Ling could reach the demon profound realm so quickly was related to the blood jasper spirit ginseng's spirit whiskers. But most importantly, it was related to the mysterious space. Sui looked around and saw that the blood jasper spirit ginseng was still in the same place. Half of its spirit whiskers were in the soil. Its body was glowing, and the leaves on its head were shining. Spirit liquid. Sui thought of his precious spirit liquid and went to check it. Then he was relieved. The small pool of spirit liquid expanded along with the expansion of the space. But overall, the remaining spirit liquid was still there. The blood jasper spirit ginseng kept its promise and did not drink it secretly. The spirit herbs in the mysterious space were also growing and shining. The elixirs that Su Yi had placed in this mysterious space seemed to have leveled up as well, increasing in quality. You guys continued to cultivate for a while. When it's time to go out, I will bring you out. After tidying up, Su Yi took out a Yuan soldier-level broadsword from the mysterious space and instructed the fire-eyed barbaric tiger and the others. Since they were still in this paradise, the fire-eyed barbaric tiger and the others could only continue to cultivate. Putting away the mysterious space, Su Yi looked around and picked up the broken 1,000-pound sword that had fallen not far away. It's getting heavier. When he picked up the broken sword, Su Yi was immediately astonished. The broken sword originally weighed more than 1,000 pounds, but now it was more than 3 times heavier. He was originally at the 2nd level of the Yuan Profound Realm, but now he was at the 6th level of the Yuan Profound Realm. Su Yi couldn't help but feel that even though he wasn't using any Yuan Qi, the strength of his physical body had increased by quite a bit. But now, Su Yi once again found it difficult to wield this 1,000-pound broken sword as hard as before. Su Yi estimated that at this moment, this broken sword weighed at least 1,500 kilograms. Even without using his origin energy, he found it strenuous to hold it in his hand. This is definitely not a lousy sword. Su Yi didn't find it strange that the broken sword had become heavier for no reason. Su Yi still clearly remembered that when he was killing the iron-armored demon rhinoceros, he was enveloped in the terrifying mucus. In the end, this broken sword suddenly erupted with a monstrous sword aura and a dazzling sword light that shattered the iron-armored demon rhinoceros, allowing him to escape from a hopeless situation. When the broken sword erupted, Su Yi still remembered that a terrifying energy and killing intent swept over. That energy was powerful and poured into his body, but what was even more terrifying was the killing intent. When he recalled that killing intent, Su Yi still had some lingering fear in his heart, as if it was still vivid in his mind. That monstrous killing intent came along with the surging energy. It was as if he could see rivers of blood and piles of bones in front of him. That killing intent was too terrifying, as if it wanted to destroy everything. His physical body was almost shattered into pieces. Later on, that killing intent suddenly disappeared, leaving behind that monstrous energy. Su Yi carefully studied the broken sword in his hand. It still looked ordinary and broken, and he could not see anything special about it. However, Su Yi was very sure that when he killed the iron-armored demon rhinoceros, it was this broken sword that erupted with a terrifying movement. After carefully studying it for an hour and trying every method, Su Yi could only give up because there was still no movement from the broken sword. However, Su Yi was sure that this broken sword was not ordinary. Perhaps he would be able to discover its secret the next time he encountered an opportunity. Holding the broken sword in his hand, Su Yi struggled to swing it a few times under the added weight, and a smile appeared on his face. It did not matter that the sword had increased its weight. It was also suitable for him to prepare to cultivate the royal grade sword technique. Whoosh! On the side, a blazing aura fluctuated, and there was movement. Su Yi looked over and saw the blazing aura around Su Tiang's body fluctuating. Flames whistled as if he had woken up. He flapped his short wings, and his body was flowing with a reddish-gold color like a divine radiance. Then, the flame-like light slowly faded, and Su Tiang's bald chicken appearance became clear. His small eyes were shining, and he flapped his short wings twice. He looked very happy. He seems to have changed a little. Looking at Su Tianke, Su Yi felt that his aura seemed to have changed a little. At the very least, the fluffy feathers on his body seemed to be more lustrous. However, he was still a bald chicken. In his heart, Su Yi felt warm when he saw Su Tianke. Su Tiang's bald appearance made him look more handsome and tall. Su Yi knew Su Tiang's character very well. He was a cheapskate who liked to take advantage of others. However, this time, Su Tianke knew that he was no match for the rhinoceros, but he still chased after it and fought with it. This made Su Yi feel warm inside. Hey, you've broken through. It seems. It's not just a small breakthrough. Su Tianke saw Su Yi and felt the invisible aura emanating from Su Yi's body. His small eyes were shining with surprise. I broke through a few levels. Su Yi nodded and smiled. Su Tianke raised his eyebrows and rolled his eyes at Su Yi. This guy broke through a few levels? What a freak. But you're quite brave. You're only at the profound origin stage, but you consumed the monster core directly. Su Tianke then rolled his eyes at Su Yi. Didn't you consume the monster core too? Su Yi also rolled his eyes at Su Tianke. The torturous pain after consuming the monster core still left Su Yi with lingering fear. He almost didn't make it. It could be considered a narrow escape from death. That's me, not you. You're only at the profound origin stage. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't even die 100 times if you consumed the monster core directly. Su Tianke glared at Su Yi and rolled his eyes. He was so angry that his teeth were itching. This guy had actually shattered the Yao core. What a waste of a treasure. More importantly, the energy from a monster core should have belonged to alone. Chapter 230. But you're lucky. The monster core was shattered by you, so its effects are not as good as before. You only swallowed a small portion of it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here now. Su Tianke rolled his eyes at Su Yi. The monster core was shattered, so its effects were greatly reduced. He knew that Su Yi had only swallowed a small portion of it. That was why he was able to survive and gain great benefits. This was purely a coincidence. Otherwise, with Su Yi's profound origin realm cultivation, he would be courting death if he consumed the monster core directly. Is that so? Su Yi couldn't help but inwardly gasp at Su Tiang's words. He had really dodged another disaster. The monster core contained most of the energy of the demonic illusionary stage, iron-armored demonic rhinoceros. That was the demonic illusionary stage, while he was only at the profound origin realm. The difference between them was like heaven and earth. This time he was lucky. It was a coincidence. It was also his luck. How much have you recovered? Su Yi asked Su Tianke expectantly. Su Tianke had swallowed much more energy from the monster core than he had. Judging from his aura, he seemed to have gained a lot of benefits. A demonic illusionary stage monster core, and it's not complete. How much can I recover? Su Tianke rolled his eyes at Su Yi. Then he put on a serious expression and continued. I need to recultivate. I feel that when I recover, I might be able to remember everything. Then take your time to recultivate. Su Yi raised his eyebrows. This guy was always so mysterious. Don't worry. When I recover, I'll give you a piece of this world. Su Tianke looked at Su Yi and said generously. Su Yi looked at Su Tianke and chuckled. Su Yi, what do you mean by that? Don't you believe me? I believe you. Why wouldn't I believe you? But I feel like you don't believe me at all. You're mocking me. In Section 0 of the new R chapter. Impossible. Why would I laugh at a peacock? Then where are you going? Those guys from Spirit Ancient Village have probably all left. It's a pity that the meat of this iron-armored rhinoceros is a little sour and smelly. Otherwise, I could roast it and eat it. Wait for me. That's right, the broken sword on your back doesn't seem to be ordinary. Was it this broken sword that killed the iron rhinoceros? A man and a chicken, their voices echoing in the air as they left. Early in the morning, thousands of mountains had just woken up. In a vast blue sky, milky white clouds filled the air, and the morning glow poured down in torrents onto the myriad mountains. As far as the eye could see, there were towering peaks and steep cliffs everywhere. The mountain was filled with towering ancient trees. Unknown trees and shrubs lined up one after another. They were of different colors and shapes, converging together to form an ink-colored flower scroll. Su Yi and Su Tianke appeared at the top of the cliff and looked around. We should have been delayed for 3 days. They should have gone back by now. Where are we going now? Su Tianke asked. Let's go down the mountain and return to Spirit Ancient Village. Su Yi said. It took him 3 days to refine the monster core, including the day he came, for days had already passed. Originally, there were 6 days left before the competition between the 2 tribes and 1 village. Now, there were only 2 days left. It was related to whether he could obtain the benefits of the soul energy. He wanted to return to Spirit Ancient Village. Without a flying savage beast as a mount, it would take at least a month to walk back. Tianke frowned. There were mountains everywhere. If they had to climb mountains and wade through rivers to return to Spirit Ancient Village, it would take at least a month. It would also tire them out. Let's find a flying savage beast. He raised his eyebrows. Without a flying savage beast as a mount, it was indeed impossible to return to Spirit Ancient Village. At least, it would be impossible to return within 2 days. There was no shortage of savage beasts in Demon Mountain. Although it might be a little troublesome to find a flying savage beast, it wouldn't be too difficult. Early in the morning, clouds and mist lingered in the mountain forest. The 20 or so young men and women of the wild bear tribe were all strong and muscular. Their eyes were bright, but there was a hint of disappointment in their eyes. There are only 2 days left before the competition. Brother Xionglai, should we go back first? Maybe the people of Spirit Ancient Village have already gone back. A young man of the wild bear tribe said to Xionglai. Everyone had been searching for a long time, but they didn't find the people of Spirit Ancient Village. They even encountered a group of savage beasts with good cultivation, which injured a few of them. That brat is lucky. Xionglai curled his lips. His eyes were filled with anger. After searching for so long, he came back empty-handed. One could imagine his mood. Brother Xionglai, the people of the tribe of tiger hunters are also here. Why are they here at Demon Mountain? A young girl was surprised. Just yesterday, they saw the people of the tribe of tiger hunters from afar. They were surprised that so many people of the tribe of tiger hunters would appear at Demon Mountain at this time. But I don't know. Maybe they are here to train. Xionglai said. Although he didn't get along with the tribe of tiger hunters, he came here for the people of Spirit Ancient Village. Therefore, he didn't find trouble with the tribe of tiger hunters yesterday. Let's go back. Xionglai nodded. There were only 2 days left before the competition. They couldn't miss it. They had to go back as soon as possible. He went down the mountain. There were thorns everywhere, which delayed the journey. It was also quite dangerous. He secretly released the aura of the Origin Supreme technique. Ordinary savage beasts didn't dare to come close to him. This made it less dangerous for Sui. There were many savage beasts in the mountain range. It was very dangerous. Guji, in the sky, there was a piercing sound. Sui looked up and saw many huge, ferocious birds flying past. He couldn't tell what kind of savage beasts they were, but he could feel that they were fierce. Those beasts didn't land, so he couldn't deal with them. On the way down the mountain, He also saw a battle between savage beasts. There were even savage beasts of the demon spirit realm. They were extremely fierce. Sui avoided them from afar. A battle between savage beasts might attract even stronger savage beasts. This was Demon Mountain, so it was better for him to avoid them. There was a small river between the mountains. Many young people were gathered together. All of them had an extraordinary aura. Hukub, I can't find the people of Spirit Ancient Village. However, I found Xionglai of the Wild Bear Tribe. Why is he here at this time? Someone asked. Yesterday evening, he saw many people of the Wild Bear Tribe and was surprised. Xionglai, I heard that he was defeated by Isu. Maybe he is here for the people of Spirit Ancient Village. The tiger cub was not very old, but it had an extremely high status among this group of peers. Its gaze was hidden, and it was also extremely intelligent. But there are only 2 days left before the competition. Did the people of Spirit Ancient Village go back? Chapter 231. However, they had been in the Demon Azura Mountain for a few days. Aside from encountering some dangers, they had yet to see anyone from the Spirit Ancient Village. That kid is lucky. Let's go back. The tiger cub was depressed. This trip was in vain. He could only look for another opportunity next time. Bang, bang. Oh. The roars of savage beasts could be heard. The sound of a fierce battle could be heard. Su Yi's figure appeared on a boulder far away as he looked down at the valley below. At this moment, a huge bird with a wingspan of a few dozen feet was fighting with a lizard savage beast. Both the bird and lizard savage beasts were around the 5th level of the demon profound realm. The bird had sharp claws, and its body was covered in light. Its feathers were glowing. Every time it swooped down, it was extremely fast. Wherever its claws passed, it could crush boulders. The lizard savage beast couldn't fly, but it was very agile and had a strong defense. Its body was covered with thick armor-like scales that were covered in black light. Obviously, it was an earth-attributed savage beast. Its long and sharp tail was covered in cold light. In its defensive state, the bird couldn't find any chance to attack. Wind-hunting demonic eagle. Sui knew that the bird was a wind-hunting demonic eagle, but he didn't know about the lizard savage beast. This was normal. There were many savage beasts in the world. Most of them were mutated and hybrid savage beasts. It was impossible for anyone to know all the savage beast breeds in the world. But for experts, it was easy to determine the bloodline level of a savage beast. Chirp! Chirp! A clear chirping sound could be heard. Above the valley, there was a cave on a cliff. 2 small wind-hunting demonic eagles were watching the fierce battle between the lizard and the adult wind-hunting demonic eagle with concern. That small lizard was targeting the 2 small wind-hunting demonic eagles, but was caught by the adult wind-hunting demonic eagle. Su Tianke raised his head and said, "That lizard is very smart. I'm afraid that the wind-hunting demonic eagle can't do anything to it." Su looked at the fierce battle between the lizard and the wind-hunting demonic eagle. Although the wind-hunting demonic eagle had the advantage, the lizard was very smart. However, the lizard was very smart. Its defense was impenetrable. Chapter 8, Section N1, plus Shanka W. Craftsman, a website. If this went on for a long time, once the demonic wind-hunting eagle got tired, it might even fall into a disadvantage. That little lizard probably wants to swallow the big wind-hunting condor, even more now. It wants to reap the benefits, said Su Tianke. Let's go down. Maybe we could discuss with the wind-hunting condor. Suddenly, a faint smile appeared on Su Yi's face. He had gone down the mountain and searched for a long time. However, he still couldn't find a flying barbaric beast that could attack. Therefore, this hunting wind demon eagle was a suitable choice. Bang, bang, bang. The wind-hunting condor's gaze was sharp. It swooped down continuously and unleashed fierce attacks. However, its attacks were all in vain and had little effect. That lizard was focused on defense, not allowing a single drop of water to flow. There was no way to deal with it at all. It was already consuming more and more energy. Hiss, hiss. The lizard barbarian demon beast's scarlet tongue flickered in and out of its mouth. It could feel that the wind-hunting condor's aura was getting stronger and stronger, and its ferocious eyes were secretly filled with joy. Wind-hunting condor, I'll help you kill this lizard. In return, you can give me a ride. How about that? Suddenly, a voice was heard in the midst of the fierce battle that was in a stalemate. The wind-hunting condor and the lizard barbarian demon beast, who were fighting fiercely, immediately looked towards the direction of the voice. Their expressions changed slightly. Their ferocious eyes emitted a terrifying light and immediately locked onto a human figure. Looking at the human figure with a bald chicken beside him, both the wind-hunting condor and the lizard barbarian demon beast were secretly surprised. High up on the cliff, the 2 little wind-hunting condors looked at the figure that suddenly appeared. Their small eyes were also filled with curiosity as they looked around. Screech! Hiss, hiss! The wind-hunting condor screeched. The lizard barbarian demon beast flicked its tongue and let out a woo-woo sound from its throat. Both of them stared at Su vigilantly. To the barbaric beasts, humans would always be their common enemy. Su took a step forward. When he finished speaking, he ignored the wind-hunting condor and slowly walked towards the lizard barbarian demon beast. He opened his mouth and said, "Leave immediately, and I can spare your life. Otherwise, you will die." Seeing Su walking over, the lizard barbarian demon beast's ferocious eyes were filled with a cold light. Instantly, its black figure flew out and pounced towards Su at lightning speed. Its scarlet tongue was flicked out like lightning. The smell of blood spread out, making one feel nauseous. Vile beast! He suddenly raised his eyes. Yuan Qi flew out from the bottom of his feet. Instead of retreating, he advanced. His figure instantly brought about a whooshing sound, as if a series of afterimages were flying out. After his cultivation had skyrocketed, his speed had also skyrocketed with the Fuyao 100 transformation steps. The Fuyao 100 transformation steps shrunk the ground to an inch, greatly increasing one's speed. It was unpredictable, real, and fake, and impossible to figure out. At this moment, He was at the 6th level of the Yuan Profound Realm. This lizard barbarian demon beast was only at the 5th level of the demon Profound Realm. Yi's figure dragged out an afterimage as he appeared on the right side of the lizard barbarian demon beast head. He clenched his fists and shook them. At the same time, a domineering and imposing aura suddenly erupted from Yi's body. He directly threw out a punch. It carried a faint wind and thunder as it heavily landed on the lizard barbarian demon beast's head. At this moment, the lizard barbarian demon beast and the wind-hunting condor hovering in the air seemed to have felt something at the same time. Their gazes changed drastically and their bodies trembled for no reason. Boom! A deep sound like thunder rang out. A huge force directly sent the lizard barbarian demon beast's huge body flying. It heavily flipped over and finally crashed into a cliff not far away. The cliff rumbled as rocks crumbled and rolled down. Immediately after, the lizard barbarian demon beast, which was at the 5th level of the demon Profound Realm, fell and rolled down. It couldn't even let out a blood-curdling scream as its head exploded. The Origin Supreme technique was activated as the Yuan Qi in his body flowed through his wide meridians. It was like a surging stream as it vibrated. He had only used half of his strength in this punch. He wanted to test his current combat strength. The result satisfied Yi, and the corner of his mouth curled up into an arc. This feeling of power was incomparable. It was indescribably comfortable. I have already dealt with your opponent for you. You just need to give me a ride. Otherwise, you will end up like it. You choose. Yi raised his eyes and looked at the wind-hunting condor hovering in the air. I'm willing. The wind-hunting condor stared at Yi as its gigantic body landed in front of Yi. It retracted its wings and prostrated itself on the ground. Within its sharp eyes, a look of respect and astonishment could be seen. Yi withdrew the Primordial Origin Supreme art and smiled. The Primordial Origin Supreme art wasn't very useful against Demon Void Realm barbaric beasts, but it was effective against Demon Profound Realm and Demon Spirit Realm barbaric beasts. Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the wind could be heard. It wasn't loud, but there were a lot of people around, and Yi could hear it. Chapter 232. Among the several brute demon beasts, there was a large bear that was very eye-catching. It had a ferocious aura, and its paws were the size of 2 dustpans. Wild bear tribe. There was no need to look at Xiongli. Just by looking at the attire of the 20 or so youths and the large bear, Yi was able to determine the identity of this group. It's him. When they saw Yi, a young man from the barbarian bear tribe who had seen Yi before immediately shouted loudly. He was so excited that he seemed to have become excited. The ones who came were the wild bear tribe, led by Xiongli. They were originally planning to leave the mountain when they heard the commotion and came over. Isu. Instantly, numerous gazes were fixated on Yi's body. Everyone's eyes were filled with excitement and agitation. One must know that they had been searching the demon Azura Mountain for many days. Who knew that just as they were about to give up, they would actually see the person they were looking for? How could they not be excited? Xiongli looked at Yi and was a little surprised by the hunting wind demon condor in front of Yi. However, he did not pay much attention to it. Instead, he looked at Yi with excitement hidden in his eyes. He sneered and said in a deep voice, "Kid, we meet again. Do you have something to say?" Yi looked at Xiongli and the rest. Since they came in such a menacing manner and had the advantage in numbers, it was likely that they did not come with good intentions. Xiongli looked at Yi and said in a deep voice, "Kid, you have to pay the price for ruining my plans." Su Yi's eyes slightly raised. As expected, they did not come with good intentions. His gaze swept across the 20 or so youths. They all seemed to be at the Yuan profound realm, but the strongest was Xiong Lai. Su Yi did not pay much attention to them. Back when he was at the second level of the Yuan profound realm, he could easily defeat Xiong Lai, let alone now. You don't seem to be a match for me. Do you want to fight me together? Su Yi glanced at the group of young men and women. He secretly used his soul power to scan the surroundings. There didn't seem to be any experts from the wild bear tribe, so he felt relieved. Although there were many young men and women in this group, Su Yi was not afraid. The new most fast V on Cool T Craftsman Network. This guy is so arrogant. Humph, humph, I'll show you soon. Let's see if you can still be so arrogant. Seeing Su Yi's nonchalant expression, some of the wild bear tribe youths were furious. However, they had heard that this outsider youth was very strong, and that even Xiong Lai was not his match. Although they were furious, no one dared to step forward. Just you? Xiong Lai's expression darkened. This outsider actually did not put him in his eyes. He looked around and found it strange that this guy was the only one here. He did not see anyone from the Spirit Ancient Village. That's right. It's just me. Su Yi nodded. That's good. It saves us some trouble. Xiong Lai sneered. If there were people from the Spirit Ancient Village here, it would be more troublesome. Now that there was only one guy here, it was undoubtedly much easier to deal with him. I advise you not to provoke me again. Su Yi looked at the group of wild bear tribe youths in front of him. His expression was calm with a hint of arrogance. He waved his hand and said, You have to pay the price for ruining my plans. If you kneel down and kowtow to admit your mistake and follow me as my follower, I may let you go this time. Xiong Lai said, if he could take this outsider as his follower, it would be a very impressive thing. Su Yi was stunned. This guy actually wanted to take him in as a follower. Didn't he know that he was once defeated by Xiong Lai? It seemed that the lesson last time was too light. A cold smile appeared on his face. He looked straight at Xiong Lai and said in a low voice, Come at me together. This time you will be miserable. There's no need for us to do anything. You will have your own opponent. The corner of Xiong Lai's eyes twitched. He knew that he wasn't a match for Lin Fan, and the people around him weren't a match for him either. But this time he was prepared. Go, teach this kid a lesson. Just leave him alive. With a wave of his hand, Xiong Lai said to the big bear behind him. His eyes were filled with coldness. Roar. Hearing Xiong Lai's words, the big bear couldn't bear it any longer. It let out a deep roar and stepped out. Its huge body was like a giant looking down at Su Yi. Its eyes were filled with coldness. Feeling the aura of the big bear, the wind-hunting eagle behind Su Yi was afraid. However, it didn't retreat and stood behind Su Yi. Earth Star Barbarian Bear. You guys want to use this Earth Star Barbarian Bear to deal with me? Su Yi had already seen the big bear. It's an Earth Star Barbarian Bear. Its bloodline wasn't particularly high. Judging from its aura, it's probably an Earth Star Barbarian Bear that hasn't even reached the Demon Spirit realm. Looking at the Earth Star Barbarian Bear before him, Su Yi already knew that Xiong Lai wouldn't dare to look for him without any backing. Looks like this Earth Star Barbarian Bear is his backing. It's just an Earth Star Barbarian Bear that hasn't even reached the Origin Spirit realm. Su Yi wasn't afraid at all. In fact, he was looking forward to it. He could test his current strength. The wind-hunting eagle from before wasn't enough to test his strength. Brat, you asked for it. Xiong Lai sneered. This Earth Star Barbarian Bear was brought out by him from the tribe. It should be enough to deal with this brat. He must take revenge for the humiliation last time. The taste of the bear's paw should be pretty good. Su Yi sized up the Earth Star Barbarian Bear. The taste of the bear's paw should be delicious. Roar! Hearing Su Yi's words, the Earth Star Barbarian Bear was enraged. Its roar was shocking, causing the ground to tremble. Attack! Xiong Lai didn't want to delay any longer. He had to deal with this fellow as soon as possible. He still had to return to the tribe. Roar! The Earth Star Barbarian Bear roared and stomped on the ground with its paw. Dust flew up and the ground trembled. Its body glowed, revealing its snow-white fangs. It looked ferocious and ferocious. Its aura was terrifying. Beast, back off. Otherwise, I don't mind eating the bear's paw. Su Yi raised his head. Facing the Earth Star Barbarian Bear's reprimand, he would usually warn the Earth Star Barbarian Bear in advance. Hearing Su Yi's words, the group of wild bear tribe's youths were stunned. They thought they heard it wrong. This is an Earth Star Barbarian Bear that's at the peak of the 8th level of the Demon Profound realm. This brat actually didn't put in his eyes? Roar! The Earth Star Barbarian Bear was also stunned for a brief moment, following which it let out a furious roar, and its huge body took a step forward. Light surged from its body, and a dark black earth attribute energy rippled. It didn't hold back its aura at the peak of the 8th level of the Demon Profound realm. Its huge paw slapped towards Su Yi. Boom! The huge paw slammed down, covering Su Yi like a small mountain. Its ferocious aura was extremely violent, causing the surrounding dust to fly up and the wind to howl. Chapter 233. Bastard. Su Yi's gaze suddenly turned serious as the yuan qi in his body gushed out from his meridians. At this moment, Su Yi's 6th level profound origin realm aura wasn't held back at all. It was as if all the yuan qi in his Dantian's ocean was gathering in his fist. Shaking his arm, Su Yi threw out a punch as his fist glowed brightly. Overlord Fist. At the same time, Su Yi roared in his heart as he threw out a punch towards the giant bear's paw. Rumble. As soon as the two of them collided, Su Yi's fist, which was glowing brightly, seemed to expand. There was a clear sound of wind and thunder, like the sound of thunder, rumbling. It was as if an overlord had awakened and an emperor had descended. A huge pressure resounded. A terrifying yuan qi burst out from Su Yi's fist like an erupting volcano. At this moment, the few barbaric beasts behind the wild bear tribe felt the aura from Su Yi's body. Their bodies trembled for no reason as their eyes were filled with fear. Buzz! At this moment, under everyone's gaze, the surrounding space seemed to be fluctuating. Waves of violent energy suddenly exploded as Su Yi and the ground aura barbaric bear's fist and paw collided. The huge gale formed a shock wave that shot out like a storm. The gale swept across like a storm. Ding, ding. The group of wild bear tribe's young men and women staggered back. Some of them even fell to the ground. PFFF, PFFF, PFFF. The ground aura barbaric bear's 6 feet tall body immediately spurted out a mouthful of blood. Its body flew out horizontally and landed heavily on the ground. The bear's paw was badly mangled. The ground aura barbaric bear's ferocious eyes were filled with fear and shock. Then, its pupils shrunk and it closed its eyes in fear. It was actually killed. The boys and girls of the wild bear tribe were stumbling around. They thought that Su Yi would be trampled by the ground aura barbarian bear, but they didn't expect such an unbelievable result. And ground aura barbarian bear at the peak of the 9th level of the Demon Profound realm was killed by a single punch. Xiongli was even more dumbfounded. The sneer in his eyes was instantly replaced by shock. It was as if he had seen a ghost. He could not accept this result. Su Yi was also secretly stunned by the strength of this punch, and then he was very satisfied. However, Su Yi wasn't particularly happy about killing an Earth Aura Barbarian Bear at the peak of the 8th stage with a single punch. Firstly, the earthly Astral Barbarian Bear's bloodline was inferior to the barbaric Heavenly Leopards. Furthermore, Su Yi had the intention to verify that he was at the 6th level of the Origin Profound realm and had even executed the Overlord Fist. Like I said, it's best not to provoke me. Su Yi sneered as he stared at the wild bear tribe members. Then, he walked towards Xiongli. What are you trying to do? Seeing Su Yi walking towards him, Xionglei's heart palpitated for no reason. There was still a shadow in his heart. The group of wild bear tribe members were also shocked at this moment. What a powerful young man from the outside. He looked young, but he killed an Earth Aura Barbarian Bear at the peak of the 8th stage of the Demon Profound realm with a single punch. He's too powerful. Since you dare to provoke me, you will have to pay the price. As soon as Su Yi finished his words, his body suddenly sped up. His palm was as fast as lightning as it struck toward Xiongli. Boom! Xionglei's expression changed drastically. He subconsciously executed the savage scripture, and a vortex-like radiance gushed out from his eyes. An ancient and terrifying aura seemed to be able to suppress the surroundings. Bang! However, everything was too late. Just as Xianglai executed the savage scripture, Su Yi's palm had already landed on his chest. PFFF, a huge force surged, and Xianglai spat out a mouthful of blood. His body, which looked like a small barbarian bear, flew out and smashed onto the ground. He could no longer get up. Everyone was dumbfounded. The remaining young men and women of the barbarian bear tribe looked at each other in dismay. Quick, let's attack together. Let's attack together. A few of the older members came back to their senses. Their expressions changed drastically, and weapons appeared in their hands. Their auras surged, and they planned to attack together. Boom! The group of wild bear tribe members came back to their senses, and their auras surged out. They had the advantage in numbers, and when they gathered together, their aura was impressive. Su Yi's eyes darkened. Yuan Qi gushed out from his feet, and he let out a cold shout. His body was like a shadow as he dashed out. Bang! Bang bang! PFFF! His body was as fast as lightning, and his movements were unpredictable. Low and deep sounds could be heard continuously. Su Yi stepped out with the Fuyao 100 transformation steps, and his hands were wide open. Every punch and palm strike would send a wild bear tribe member flying out while vomiting blood. There were many young men and women in this punch, but the strongest among them, Xianglai, was only at the peak of the 4th level of the Yuan Profound Realm. Back then, he was severely injured by Su Yi when he was at the 2nd level of the Yuan Profound Realm. Now that Su Yi had stepped into the 6th level of the Yuan Profound Realm. Even though these wild bear tribe members weren't ordinary, how could they be a match for Su Yi? With Su Yi's Fuyao 100 transformation steps, these wild bear tribe members couldn't even touch the corner of Su Yi's clothes. Bang, bang, bang. One figure after another crashed on the ground, and all of them vomited blood. They couldn't even get up. In just a short period of time, over 20 people were lying on the ground, unable to move. Everyone's eyes were filled with astonishment. Before they set off, they didn't expect this foreign young man to be so powerful. They originally thought that bringing out an Earth or a barbarian bear at the peak of the 8th level of the Demon Profound Realm was enough. Who would have thought that this would be the outcome? Roar! From afar, there was a deafening tiger roar, and the sound of wind breaking could be heard. After Su Yi sent the last young man flying, he raised his head and looked in the direction of the tiger roar. Soon, a huge tiger galloped over. On the tiger's back was a young man who looked to be about 15 or 16 years old. Behind the young man and the tiger, there were a few ferocious savage beasts as mounts. There were a total of 20 young men and women riding on them. It's the wild bear tribe. It's Xianglai. He seems to be severely injured. It's him. That's the kid. He's Isu. When this group of young men and women appeared, they saw the messy valley. They immediately saw the members of the wild bear tribe covered in blood and injuries. Some of the young men and women who had seen Su Yi before exclaimed. At this moment, it was Tiger Cub and his group from the tribe of tiger hunters. Tiger Cub and his group were about to attack when they happened to pass by. They heard the huge commotion and came over. They originally thought that it might be the people from the Spirit Ancient village hunting, who knew that they would see Xianglai from the wild bear tribe and that foreign young man. Did you injure them? Tiger Cub was secretly shocked. He looked at Xianglai lying on the ground, unable to get up. There was also an Earth or a barbarian bear that seemed to have been killed. He looked at Su Yi and asked, "That's right. Are you here for me too?" Chapter 234. Hearing Su Yi's words, Hu Cub and the rest of the tribe of tiger hunters' expressions changed. However, they weren't too surprised. Even Brother Hu Mo and Brother Hu Yu were defeated. Although Xianglai's strength isn't weak and should be able to fight against Brother Hu Mo or Brother Hu Yu, he's definitely not a match for Brother Hu Mo and Brother Hu Yu. Hu Cub and the others were secretly surprised by the ground or a barbarian bear that had been blasted to death. Moreover, More than 20 barbarian bear tribesmen were lying on the ground in a disorderly manner. It was extremely shocking and intimidating. "You're the one who stole the azure frost grass from my tribe of tiger hunters?" A person's reputation was like a tree's shadow, but Hu Cub secretly suppressed the trembling in his heart and asked Su-yi. This time he brought his trump card. He doesn't believe that he can't take care of this foreign brat. Seeing Hu Cub and the rest of the tribe of tiger hunters coming over, the wild bear tribe members on the ground didn't say anything. Looking at the atmosphere, they hoped that the tribe of tiger hunters would be able to fight with that brat. If that brat loses, then it'll be considered as revenge. If the tribe of tiger hunters also suffers a loss, then they'll be dragged down with them. So you're here to look for trouble. Could it be that this rock-splitting demon tiger is your trump card? Su-yi's gaze swept across the group of youths from the tiger hunting tribe. Finally, his gaze fell upon the ferocious tiger at the front. The tiger's body was glowing. Its eyes were filled with an ominous glint. It was glaring like a tiger looking at its prey. Its entire body was pale gold and emitted the aura of a king. This is the rock-splitting demon tiger. Its bloodline is much stronger than the ground or a barbarian bear. It's a metal-attributed demon beast. Its attack power is the most terrifying, and it's sharp and swift. It's very powerful. Su-yi could feel the aura of this rock-splitting demon tiger. It's probably not far from the demon spirit realm. It seems like it's the same as the wild bear tribe. This tribe of tiger hunters also brought out their demon beasts. The rock-splitting demon tiger was the backing of these brats. You know that this is the rock-splitting demon tiger, so you should know the consequences. Today, you will pay the price. We will avenge Hu Mo and brother Hu Yu. Hu Cub looked straight at Su-yi. Since the conversation had reached this point, there was no need to avoid it. He didn't expect to meet this brat here, so he naturally couldn't let him go. Is that so? Then let's do it. Tiger bones, tiger penis, tiger meat, they should all be worth a lot. Su-yi smiled faintly and immediately walked towards the rock-splitting demon tiger. Instead of retreating, he advanced, looking very valiant. After killing an earthly or a barbarian bear with a single punch, Su-yi had a clear idea of his own combat strength. This rock-splitting demon tiger was even stronger than the ground or a barbarian bear, but it wasn't enough to cause Su-yi to be afraid. Since a few brats from the tribe of tiger hunters dared to cause trouble for him, he naturally wouldn't be polite. Seeing Su-yi advancing instead of retreating, the tribe of tiger hunters looked at each other. Everything seemed to be different from what they had imagined. In their imagination, this brat would probably kneel down and beg for mercy when he saw the rock-splitting demon tiger. But now, it seemed that the situation was the complete opposite. "Brat, do you want to die? Attack!" Hu Cub was stunned for a moment. Then his eyes darkened as he gave the order to the rock-splitting demon tiger. Roar! The rock-splitting demon tiger, who had been eyeing Su-yi covetously, could no longer hold itself back. It let out a low roar. Its body was not particularly large, but it was pale yellow in color and emitted a bright light. Its aura was fierce, as oppressive as a mountain. A ferocious aura swept across the area. The tiger's roar was like thunder, deafening everyone's eardrums. The tiger, who was about to pounce, leaped up and pounced directly at Su-yi. Like a ferocious tiger pouncing on its prey, its ferocious aura swept out. A peak 9th tier demon profound realm aura instantly burst out. "Bastard, you're courting death." Su-yi's eyes darkened. This bastard was going all out and didn't hold back. It was treating him as its prey. This made Su-yi furious. Boom! The Origin Supreme technique was activated. Suddenly, a surge of black yuan qi from Su-yi's body was activated. A surge of earth attributed yuan qi gathered at his right foot. He didn't hold back the aura of a 6th tier yuan profound realm. His eyes flashed with a dazzling light, and his black hair fluttered in the wind. His aura seemed to carry the fury of thunder. 8 desolation fury, suppressing the mountains and rivers with a single stomp. Su-yi roared in his heart. At the same time, he stomped his right foot, and a yuan qi whirlpool swept out like a storm. Rumble! The earth trembled and the air rumbled. Rings of black earth attributed yuan qi energy swept out like waves from where Su Yi's foot landed. Cracks as thick as an arm began to spread out like a spider web. Crack, crack. The surrounding rocks and broken trees were all shattered into dust in an instant. Awoo! At this moment, the eyes of the savage beasts of the barbarian bear tribe and the hunting tiger tribe, including the hunting wind condor, trembled violently and roared in response. The rock-splitting demonic tiger had been eyeing Su Yi covetously and pounced on its prey. Its huge tiger claws were already descending towards Su Yi. Suddenly, the rock-splitting demonic tiger seemed to have sensed something. Its ferocious eyes changed drastically. The ferocious killing intent in its eyes was instantly replaced by shock. Its attack was forcefully stopped. Boom! A huge shockwave spread through the ground and swept up. In just an instant, the rock-splitting demonic tiger let out a dull roar of pain. Its huge body staggered backwards as if it was about to be overturned. Plop! The tiger cub on the tiger's back was sent flying and heavily smashed onto the ground. Overlord Fist! Su Yi's figure flashed out like lightning. As the rock-splitting demonic tiger staggered backwards, Su Yi did not stop. He activated the Origin Supreme technique and gathered the Overlord Fist. Yuan Qi surged in his body. In the most brutal and direct way, he punched out and landed directly on the rock-splitting demonic tiger's head. Bang! Y/Cool Craftsman, Nnet Plus. Zheng. Version 3\first*U*H+. This punch was simple and direct. It let out a dull thud and a burst of light. Waves of wind swept across the surroundings, causing sand and rocks to fly. Roar! The rock-splitting demonic tiger let out a blood-curdling scream. Its huge body lay flat on the ground. Blood flowed from its forehead. Its skull had actually been shattered. Kill! The rock-splitting demonic tiger's ferocity made Su Yi want to kill it at this moment. As the rock-splitting demonic tiger lay flat on the ground, Yuan Qi surged. Su Yi's 3 consecutive punches landed on its forehead. Bang! 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 The 3 punches fell like rain, accompanied by a domineering and majestic aura. The rock-splitting demonic tiger's forehead was shattered and blood spurted out. After letting out a blood-curdling scream, the rock-splitting demonic tiger's eyes gradually closed. It couldn't be more dead. All the members of the tribe of tiger hunters were dumbfounded. They couldn't come back to their senses. Although Xiong Lai and the rest of the wild bear tribe were still lying on the ground, they had witnessed this scene with their own eyes. They were already shocked that Su Yi could kill an 8th rank demon, profound realm ground, or a barbarian bear. Chapter 235. After killing a 9th level demon, profound realm demonic tiger, Su Yi's face turned completely pale. Executing the Overlord Fist and 8 Desolation Wrath at the same time, in addition to using the Overlord Fist to kill the ground or a barbaric bear, had consumed too much energy. Especially just now, Su Yi knew that if he didn't use his full strength, he wouldn't be able to take down a 9th level demon, profound realm demonic tiger. And Su Yi was very satisfied with the result. At the 6th level of the profound origin realm, he was able to kill a 9th level demon, profound realm demonic tiger with his full strength by executing the Overlord Fist and 8 Desolation Wrath. This was the power of the Origin Supreme technique. Of course, Su Yi was well aware that this didn't mean that he could deal with a 9th level profound origin realm demonic tiger. Under normal circumstances, a 9th level demon, profound realm demonic tiger would definitely be much stronger than a 9th level profound origin realm demonic tiger. But Su Yi knew his own situation. His Origin Supreme technique was able to suppress the demonic tiger, which was why he had the upper hand. If he were to encounter a peak 9th level Yuan profound realm practitioner, then the outcome would be unknown. It was hard to say. It's your turn. Ignoring the rock-splitting tiger that was killed, Su Yi flicked his long sleeve. His figure flashed towards a group of young men and women from the tribe of tiger hunters at lightning speed. Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly, low muffled sound could be heard. Su Yi didn't show any mercy when he attacked. Since these guys dared to come after him, He wouldn't be polite. Sui attacked fiercely. Although he had consumed a lot of energy, he was still able to deal with a group of young men and women from the tribe of tiger hunters, who weren't even as strong as the wild bear tribe. As Sui pounced, a terrifying aura erupted. It was swift and fierce, and some of the tribe of tiger hunters were sent flying before they could react. Sand and pebbles flew in all directions. Boulders exploded, and debris turned into fine powder. Strong winds swept through the area. Very soon, the group of young men and women completely understood why the people of the barbarian bear tribe were lying on the ground in such a disorderly manner. It turned out that this outsider youth called Isu was actually powerful to such an extent. The last youth from the tribe of tiger hunters was sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood as his body smashed into the ground in the distance. His face was covered in dust, and his complexion was deathly pale. He could no longer move. Oh, a few savage beast mounts cried out miserably. They couldn't escape and were heavily injured by Su Yi's suppression. They roared miserably, "You're still not strong enough to deal with me." He clapped his hands. At this moment, he could be considered to be rich and overbearing. Popping a pill into his mouth, he swept his gaze across the group of people on the ground who could no longer get up. The effect was very satisfactory. "Isu, what else do you want?" The tiger cub opened his mouth and struggled to sit up. Looking at Sui, the shock in his eyes couldn't be erased. Blood flowed from his mouth as he gritted his teeth and asked, "Don't worry, at least I won't kill you." Sui swept his gaze across this group of people from the wild bear tribe and tribe of tiger hunters. He didn't kill them. After all, this wasn't the outside world. The wild bear tribe and the tribe of tiger hunters were filled with experts. If the younger generation were to go all out, the wild bear tribe and the tribe of tiger hunters wouldn't be able to do anything because of the spirit ancient village. But if you were to kill someone today, it would be different. If you dare to kill us, the tribe of tiger hunters and the wild bear tribe won't let you go. A muscular young man from the wild bear tribe looked at the foreign young man with fear in his eyes. It was as if he had seen a ghost. Could it be that the people from the outside world were all so strong? "I told you, but I won't kill you," Sui said with an indifferent expression. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. A faint smile hung on his face as he said, "However, a lesson is unavoidable. If you want to deal with me, you will have to pay a price that you will never forget for the rest of your lives." "Sui, I swear I won't let you off." "Isu, my tribe of tiger hunters will not let you go." "Isu, you shameless bastard. I won't let you off." A moment later, the valley was filled with angry curses. Resentment rose in all directions, and they were furious, but there was nothing they could do. "Despicable, shameless. How can you be so shameless? You're too despicable." Some young girls also shouted. Looking at everything in front of him, the wind-hunting eagle was also dumbfounded. It was tongue-tied, and its big round eyes flickered uncertainly. 47 CZ Original Version Square Root Chapter F to the power of 8 cool Carpenter RP. This human young man was actually so ferocious and terrifying. A bunch of little brats. Unknowingly, Su Tianke had already arrived beside the 2 little wind-hunting demonic eagles in the valley. That seemed to be the nest of the wind-hunting demonic eagles. Su Tianke leaned there and quietly watched everything below, unconcerned. It was another early morning, and the sun shone on the ancient village. In the spirit ancient village, the atmosphere in the entire village was somewhat oppressive and gloomy. Even the children and young girls who usually went around slacking off and playing had quieted down. At the village square, 3 young figures were standing there, looking out of the village as if waiting for something. The 3 young men were young, around 16 or 17 years old. They were Shangwan Rock, Shangwan Yu, and Shangwan Yi. "Children, go back. I'm afraid Isu, that young man, is..." Under the morning sun, an old man in the village appeared and said to the 3 of them, "No, I want to wait for my father to come back. I want to wait for brother Isu's corpse to be buried in peace." Shangwan Rock said, looking out of the village, his eyes firm and persistent. He had already asked his father to bring some of the village's experts up Demon Mountain. It had been 2 days, and for some reason, his father had not returned. Let's wait together. At least we have to wait for Brother Isu's corpse. Shangguan Yi said. Brother Isu was swallowed by the iron-armored rhinoceros because of us. If it wasn't for Brother Isu, we would have died twice. Shangguan Yi said. Isu, that young man. Heaven is jealous of his talent. An old man sighed. It was a pity. That young man was very strong, and he saved the younger generation of the village time and time again. Children, our village will remember Isu, that young man. You've been standing here for 3 days and 3 nights. Go back and rest. When the experts of the village return, they will inform you of the result. A woman in the village persuaded Shangguan Rock and the other two. Was Brother Isu really swallowed by the iron-armored rhinoceros? Is Brother Isu really not coming back? I like him a lot. He even promised me that he would tell me many things about the outside world. Some young children and girls had sadness in their pure and bright eyes. They were still too young and only knew the meaning of life and death. It's been 3 days and 3 nights. Children, go back and rest. Children, why don't we wait for you? You go back and rest first. More and more people came out of the village to persuade Shangguan Rock and the other two. No, I want to wait for Brother Isu's corpse personally, even if it's just bones. Chapter 236. Shangguan Rock was a little regretful. He regretted not pulling Isu back then. He could not forgive himself for watching him get swallowed by the iron-armored demonic rhinoceros while he escaped with his life. If I could do it all over again, even if I die, I would never let Brother Isu stop that evil beast alone. Shangguan Rock said to himself in his heart. He was filled with regret. Screech. Early in the morning, under the sun, a wind-hunting demonic eagle spread its wings and hovered at a low altitude, then slowly landed. Bang, bang. A huge object was thrown off the back of the wind-hunting demonic eagle and smashed to the ground. Whoosh, whoosh. Then a figure jumped off the back of the wind-hunting demonic eagle. His hair and clothes fluttered slightly, but his thin figure was particularly tall and straight, revealing the aura of a mountain. Spirit Ancient Village is in front. We finally found it. Original E-version premiere plus from the back of the wind-hunting demonic eagle. A bald chicken that was talking also landed. Its short wings flapped, and its expression made people unable to hold back their laughter. Let's go back. The thin young man tidied up the broken sword and a large saber on his back, clapped his hands, and said to the wind-hunting demonic eagle that was hovering at a low altitude. Screech! The wind-hunting demonic eagle let out a low cry and flapped its wings lightly, as if it was saluting. Its eyes were filled with awe, and then it spread its wings and left. The thin young man was Su-Yi, who had returned from the Demon Mountain. Because he was delayed for a while and was not familiar with the road, it took him a little more time to return. Let's go back to the village. Looking at the entrance of Spirit Ancient Village in the distance, Su-Yi's lips curled into a smile. Other than the Su family, this was the second time he felt like he was going home. Why can't we eat a little first? It must taste good. Su Tianke looked regretfully at the huge object that had just been thrown off the back of the wind-hunting demonic eagle. He licked his lips as if his saliva was about to flow out. This huge object was actually the body of a big tiger. And on the tiger's body, there were 4 huge bare paws tightly tied with vines. The tiger body was the rock-shattering demon tiger that was killed by Su-Yi, and the bear paw was cut off from the earthly Aura barbarian bear. You only know how to eat. What peacock? I was surrounded by the tribe of tiger hunters and the wild bear tribe. Where did you run off to? You still want to eat? Su-Yi kicked Su Tianke. This guy was obviously strong, but when he fought against the wild bear tribe and the tribe of tiger hunters, he was nowhere to be seen. Su Tianke flapped his wings and dodged Su-Yi's kick. He rolled his eyes at Su-Yi and said innocently, "What do you mean by surrounded? You were the one who was beating up those kids. I didn't even need to do anything. Don't forget, if it wasn't for me, you would have been swallowed by that iron rhino. I'm your savior, so you have to call me Big Brother from now on. Scram, I killed the iron rhinoceros myself. You are no match for the iron rhinoceros. Su-yi raised his eyebrows and took a deep breath. He bent his knees slightly and grabbed the rock-shattering demon tiger with both hands. Using his strength from the ground, he immediately lifted the tiger's body onto his shoulders. This huge tiger was about a few meters long. Although its body wasn't particularly huge, it definitely weighed about 4,000 to 5,000 pounds with the addition of 4 huge bear paws. Coupled with the strange weight of the broken sword on his back, Su-yi's body began to tremble when the weight of 7,000 to 8,000 pounds fell on him. A surge of yuan qi gushed out from his body, and Su-yi's trembling body immediately straightened up. Su-yi couldn't carry the weight of 7,000 to 8,000 pounds with just the strength of his body. He would be crushed. However, it was different if he used his yuan qi. Although Su-yi still had some difficulty, it was no longer a problem for him. "Brat, I risked my life to save you." Su Tianke followed behind Su-yi, rolling his eyes so hard that they were about to fall out of their sockets. "That's because we swore to die on the same day, month, and year. You're afraid that if I die, you'll be struck by lightning if you don't." Su-yi carried the huge tiger and bear paws on his back and walked towards the entrance of the village. "All right, I won't save you next time." Late in the morning, at the entrance of the Spirit Ancient village, many people gathered together. A large group of people, old and young. Many of them were old people. "Brother Yin, we're here to accompany you." Shangguan Xiao and the others also came. They brought along the young boys and girls who escaped from Demon Mountain. They had been meditating for the past few days. When they found out that Shangguan Rock, Shangguan Yi, and Shangguan Yu had been waiting at the entrance of the village for 3 days and 3 nights, they all came out and wanted to accompany them. "Without Brother Isu, we would all be dead. He saved all of us. At least, we should wait for his corpse," a young boy said with a sad expression. "You all know how to repay kindness. You're all descendants of Spirit Ancient Village. Let's wait. I hope we can find his corpse and give him a proper burial." Some of the old people were touched, and their eyes were filled with admiration. Being able to repay kindness proved the moral character of these young people. One's moral character was more important than one's talent. "Brother, we'll wait with you." Some young boys and girls and the children said that they wanted to wait with Shangguan Rock and the others. "Isu is the benefactor of Spirit Ancient Village. If we can find his corpse, we'll bury him in our village." Some of the old people discussed. "A barbaric beast is coming." Suddenly, someone saw a huge figure slowly walking over from a distance outside the village entrance. "It doesn't look like a barbaric beast. Look, someone is coming. It's not a barbaric beast. It looks like someone is carrying a big tiger." Many pairs of eyes stared outside the village. It wasn't a barbaric beast. It was clearly a skinny figure carrying a huge tiger as he walked over. Swish, swish. Everyone carefully looked forward. Under the sunlight, a thin figure walked slowly, as if every step was going to sink into the ground. However, it was incomparably tall and straight like a mountain. Looking carefully, that person was carrying a big tiger on his shoulder. His hands were holding 2 pieces of tiger bones. 4 huge bear paws were hanging, almost drowning that thin figure. From afar, it looked like a barbarian demon beast had arrived. Looking at that figure, everyone at the entrance of the village was stunned. This kind of appearance was too visually shocking, and it made people speechless. "It's Isu. It's that young man. He's not dead." An old man's eyes were clear, and he could see into the distance. He was stunned and immediately said, "Shangguan Rock, Shangguan Yu," and Shangguan Yi were stunned. They couldn't help but rub their eyes hard, thinking that they were seeing things. Chapter 237. Isu stood at the entrance of the village and raised his head slightly. He was surprised to see so many people standing at the entrance of the village. When he saw some familiar figures, he panted and shouted, "Shangguan Rock, Shangguan Yu, Shangguan Yi, come and help me. I'm exhausted. Why are you standing there? We're back." A bald chicken walked out. Its voice was crisp and clear, and it walked slowly with its tail between its legs. Isu, it's Brother Isu. It's Brother Isu. He's not dead. Brother Isu is not dead. He's not dead. Brother Isu is still alive. When that familiar voice sounded, Shangguan Yin, Shangguan Yi, and Shangguan Yu couldn't help but tremble, their bodies quivering. Then, the three figures rushed forward with tears in their eyes. It's Isu. He's not dead. He's back. Shangguan Xiao and the other boys and girls also came back to their senses and rushed forward. Brother Isu, a bunch of little brats follow behind him, their voices young and tender. At the entrance of the village, a group of villagers looked at each other and then showed joy. Brother Isu. A group of figures rushed forward excitedly. What are you doing? He was stunned. He immediately threw the body of the rock-splitting demon tiger off his shoulder. Looking at the posture of the crowd, it seemed that something was wrong. Brother Isu, so you're not dead. You scare me to death. Ha ha. Brother Isu is not dead. He's not dead. Shangguan Rock, Shangguan Yu, and Shangguan Yi jumped over the body of the rock-splitting demon tiger and directly pounced on Su-yi. The three of them hugged the stunned Su-yi tightly. They were so excited that they cried tears of joy. Their eyes were brimming with tears, and they refused to let go. They seemed to be afraid that if they let go, the person in front of them would suddenly disappear. Brother Isu. A group of young men and women also rushed up. They were all extremely excited, and their joy could not be concealed. Su Tianke, it's great that you're all still alive. Shangguan Xiao was very happy to see Su Tianke and reached out to hug him. Grandpa K is still alive. Su Tianke rolled his eyes at Shangguan Xiao and avoided her. Chick, you're back too. A group of children ran up and surrounded Su Tianke. They were all very happy. Go away, little brat. Su Tianke dodged. Chick, we won't eat you. Don't be afraid. A little girl spoke up. Her hair was braided, extremely cute. Ignorant brat, you're pissing me off. Su Tianke was depressed. He was a peacock after all. He flapped his short wings and tried to dodge. Plop. A child with a strong head but clear eyes pounced on Su Tianke and pinned him under his body. Haha, I caught you. Don't worry, we won't eat you. The little guy was overjoyed. He hugged Su Tianke tightly and refused to let go. I'm so angry. Su Tianke was so angry that his eyeballs were about to pop out. Don't be afraid. You saved Sister Xiao and Brother Yin. We won't want to eat you in the future, a child said to Su Tianke seriously. Su Tianke was very sullen. These little guys were too naughty. The rock-splitting demon tiger and the ground aura barbarian bear's paw. A group of villagers also came up. They were very surprised to see the tiger's body and the bear's paw on the ground. It's good that he's not dead. God is watching over him, a kind old man said. Children, let's go back to the village. Isu must be tired, a woman said with a smile. Some of the strong people in the village had already carried the tiger's body back to the village. Let's go back first. Su-yi was dragged back to the village under the crowd's joyous escort. Everyone was overjoyed. Isu isn't dead. He's back. Look at Chapter W. Chapter A. The news spread like wildfire. Many villagers ran out of the village. They were all very happy. Su-yi saved many of the young people in the village this time. He risked his own life to save them. The villagers were very touched. Child, you're still alive. Thank the heavens. An old lady thanked the heavens. Isu, look at your clothes. They're dirty. Take them off later. Annie will wash them for you. A woman said, Brother Isu, what happened? You were clearly swallowed by the iron rhinoceros. In the village, Shangguan Yu, Shangguan Rock, and the others had calmed down a lot. They asked Su-yi, it's a long story. The iron rhinoceros was running out of oil. I took the opportunity to escape. It's a pity that I accidentally broke the demon core. It wasn't that Su-yi didn't believe them. It was just that it was better to hide the fact that the broken sword suddenly exploded. It's great to be able to come back alive and avoid a disaster. No one asked any questions. They all knew that the iron-armored rhinoceros was already at the end of its life. As for the demon core, no one cared. Even if the demon core was placed in front of them, they would still think that the demon core belonged to this young man. From the others, Su-yi found out that Shangwan Rock had been waiting at the entrance of the village for 3 days and 3 nights. He wanted to retrieve his corpse. There were also experts from the village who had gone to the Demon Mountain. Shangwan Shiwei led the way, but they hadn't returned yet. Looking at the pure joy in everyone's eyes, as well as the passion and concern that came from the bottom of their hearts, Su-yi felt warmth in his heart. Then, from Su-yi, everyone found out that Xiongli of the Wild Bear Tribe and Tiger Cub of the Tribe of Tiger Hunters had brought powerful barbaric beasts to the Demon Mountain. Their purpose was to deal with Su-yi. But when they found out that Su-yi had killed an 8th-tier demon profound realm ground aura barbaric bear and a demon spirit realm cracker tiger, they were even more dumbfounded. Numerous gazes were fixated on Su-yi. This fellow was truly terrifyingly powerful and unfathomable. How shameless! He actually brought barbaric beasts to the Demon Mountain. Shangwan Rock, Shangwan Yu, and the others were furious. Bringing barbaric beasts to the Demon Mountain to deal with Isu, this Tiger Cub of the Tribe of Tiger Hunters and Xiongli of the Wild Bear Tribe were shameless. I'm afraid those little brats are still crying. Su Tianke didn't care. He had already broken free from the brat's embrace. With his tail between his legs, he swaggered to Su-yi's side. Brother Isu, where are Xiongli and Tiger Cub? Upon hearing Su Tiang's words, Shangwan Yi and the others looked at each other before asking Su-yi. Judging from Su Tiang's tone, Xiongli and Tiger Cub should be in a miserable state right now. Nothing much. I just taught them a lesson. Su-yi chuckled. The Wild Bear Tribe and the Tribe of Tiger Hunters have gone too far this time. We have to tell the Wild Bear Tribe and the Tribe of Tiger Hunters. Some experts in the village were furious. This time, the Wild Bear Tribe and the Tribe of Tiger Hunters had actually brought barbaric beasts to the Demon Mountain. This was a little too much. Chapter 238. We can keep some of the bear paws and the meat of the rock-splitting demon tiger. Let the Tribe of Tiger Hunters and the Wild Bear Tribe taste it tomorrow. Isu, what do you think? An old man smiled and asked Su-yi. Su-yi turned his eyes and smiled knowingly. He nodded to the old man and said, I'll listen to you, elder. Fine, we'll leave some behind. The rest will be used to nourish the bodies of the younger generation. The village will make an exception and bring out some 100-fruit wine to celebrate Isu's survival. The elder spoke. He was an elder of the village and had an extremely high status among the elders. Great, we can drink 100-fruit wine. We can also eat tiger meat. That's great. The group of young people was very excited. They could drink white fruit wine again. Su-yi bid farewell to everyone and returned to the courtyard. The village chief, grandmother Shangwan Qingya, was not in the courtyard. Su-yi entered the room and was about to adjust his breathing for a while when a voice came from outside the door. Someone was coming. Su-yi walked out of the courtyard and saw several aunties. Child, these clothes are clean. Take them and change. Look at you, go take a bath. The aunties brought some clothes to Su-yi. Thank you, Auntie. Su-yi was very grateful. These clothes were not gorgeous, but they were very simple and unadorned. Warmth flowed in his heart. After sending the aunties away, Su-yi stood in the courtyard in a daze. He thought of a vague figure in his mind from the aunties. He did not know where his mother was now and whether she was safe. One who survives a great disaster is bound to have good fortune. It's good that you're back. A faint voice came into Su-yi's ears. Su-yi turned around, and a kind face appeared in front of him. There were no wrinkles on the face, and his complexion was rosy. He was slightly hunchbacked, and his hair was black with a mix of silver. It was the village chief, Grandmother Shangwan. Su-yi bowed. You look like you're in a daze. Are you missing home or your family? Shangwan Qingya said with a smile. On her kind face, her calm eyes seemed to be able to see through Su-yi. Yes. Su-yi nodded slightly and smiled embarrassedly. After tomorrow's battle, I hope that Spirit Ancient Village can win. At that time, I will be able to fulfill my promise to you and return home early. Shangwan Qingya smiled and said, Of course, in the future, Spirit Ancient Village will also be your second home. You can come back whenever you want. Thank you, Granny Shangwan. Su-yi nodded. You're welcome. If you really want to thank Grandma, then chat with me. All these years, only that girl Shiwei has spoken to me. That girl and I depend on each other. I only have one granddaughter. Now that I have a grandson out of nowhere, I'm very happy. Shangwan Chengya said. Then I'll talk to Granny Shangwan for a while. Sui nodded. Mountain streams, exotic flowers, rare herbs, and lush trees. In the ancient wooden pavilion, Su-Yi sat with Shangwan Chengya and looked at the mountain stream in the distance thoughtfully. Did that girl, Shiwei, tell you about her parents? Shangwan Chengya asked. Her voice was faint and her eyes were a little hazy. If it wasn't for the invisible pressure that she gave off, she would be like an ordinary old lady. I've heard a little about it, Su-Yi said. He knew some things from Shangwan Shiwei. His mother had passed away and his father had left Spirit Ancient Village. He and his grandmother had depended on each other since young. As for the outside world, I've never gone out of my life. I don't know what it's like. When I was young, I wanted to go out and explore, but I couldn't do it. Shangwan Chengya said. There was some light in her eyes, and her expression changed a little. She seemed to be thinking about the time when she was young. We didn't say anything. The village chief probably felt that he didn't blame his son for all these years. After a while, Shangwan Chengya looked at Su-Yi and asked, Okay, let's talk about you. How many people do you have in your family? I have a grandfather at home. My parents left after I was born, and their whereabouts are unknown. My grandfather and I depend on each other. Su-Yi thought of his grandfather. He had been out for so long and hoped that his grandfather's body could still hold on for a while. He had to become an expert as soon as possible and then go back to treat his grandfather's injuries. He's also a poor child, just like Shiwei. Upon hearing this, Shangwan Chengya was a little surprised. Her kind face was moved. She held Su-Yi's hand and said softly, Grandpa is very good to me. Su-Yi smiled. The corners of his mouth lifted. The old and the young sat and chatted for a long time. Su-Yi and Shangwan Chengya talked about a lot of interesting things about the outside world. The old lady listened carefully, as if she had regained her youth. Her face was full of curiosity, and she couldn't help but smile. Today is the happiest day for me in more than 10 years. Thank you, child. At last, Shangwan Chengya said to Su-Yi. Her kind face was full of smiles. She hadn't been happy for a long time. If Grandma Shangwan likes it, I'll have a good talk with you another day, Su-Yi said to Shangwan Chengya. Okay. Shangwan Chengya nodded and stood up with her slightly hunched body. Strands of silver hair could be seen clearly among her black hair. Her dark brown eyes seemed to be telling of the vicissitudes of life. She stared at Su-Yi for a while and seemed to have something to say. Grandma Shangwan, what's the matter? Su-Yi asked. When you go back, if one day you meet a person called Shangwan Tianchen, Shangwan Chengya sighed slightly and said, Forget it. It's all in the past. It's just that Shiwei has suffered a lot. Shangwan Tianchen. Is he Sister Shiwei's father? Su-Yi asked. Okay, go back and rest. Tomorrow is the competition between Spirit Ancient Village, Wild Bear Tribe, and Tribe of Tiger Hunters. You should go and watch. The savage Heavenly Leopard has improved a lot. If it can win again tomorrow, then Spirit Ancient Village will win this time, Shangwan Chengya said, and then asked Su-Yi to go and rest. Su-Yi left and didn't ask any more questions. He remembered Shangwan Tianchen's name in his heart. Back in his room, Su-Yi found some water to take a bath. He changed into a clean robe given by the village auntie. After putting the knife on his back again, he closed his eyes and started to adjust his breath. After a few hours, Su-Yi opened his eyes and withdrew his hand seal. His body was full of yuan qi and mental strength. He felt refreshed. I wonder what level I've reached as a soul controller. Su-Yi felt that his soul power had been increasing during this period of time. Especially the last time, his soul power had improved a lot. However, he didn't know much about soul controllers. He didn't know what level he had reached as a soul controller. Brother Isu, everyone is waiting for you. Shangwan Rock's voice came from outside. Tonight, the village was going to celebrate, and Su-Yi was the star. When Su-Yi walked out of the courtyard, it was already dusk. There's meat and fruit wine. Chapter 239. When Su-Yi arrived at the square, a large group of villagers were already waiting for him. They were very enthusiastic about Su-yi. The clothes fit very well. It was originally made for my Shangguan Yi, but it suits Yi-Su better and looks better in it. A woman walked out. She was Shangguan Ye's mother. Looking at Su-yi's clothes, she smiled and sized him up. The more she looked, the more satisfied she was. Child, are you married? Why don't you stay in the village in the future? Annie will be your matchmaker and find a pretty girl. What do you think of Xiao? A woman said with a smile. Third aunt, I'm not far away. Shangguan Xiao heard it. Her face was full of shyness. From her neck to her earlobes, she blushed, adding a bit of charm to her youthfulness. I think Shiwei is more suitable. Does Yi-Su like Shiwei? Another woman came forward and said with a smile. Shiwei seems to be a few years older than Yi-Su. Xiao air is better. Their ages are similar. That's not necessarily true. It's said that a woman 3 years older is golden. It's a good thing to be a few years older. Hearing the words of the aunts, Su-yi smiled bitterly. He could only find an excuse to leave. Night fell. The bonfire was bright. The spirit ancient village was very lively. Come, Yi-Su, this bear paw is yours. And this tiger leg, it's very fragrant. It can strengthen your body and is useful for your cultivation. Some experts in the village brought the roasted bear paw and tiger meat to Su-yi. Today, Su-yi was the main character and received the best treatment. And this meat, they picked it up from the demon Azure Mountain. After eating it, it should be very beneficial. A master also handed over a lot of barbecued meat. When Shangguan Shiwei and the others came back a few days ago, they picked up a lot of meat from the monster beasts that were killed by the iron-armored rhinoceros beast corps. Those demonic beasts were almost at the demon illusionary realm. After eating it, they would receive great benefits. Su-yi couldn't refuse even if he wanted to. He could only stand in the middle of the crowd and enjoy the treatment of the main character. Brother Yi-Su, thank you. You saved our lives. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid we wouldn't have been able to come back. Several youths came forward, wanting to drink with Su-yi. Shangguan Xiao was among them, but she was a little embarrassed to raise her head. Her earlobes were still red. Don't stand on ceremony, everyone. Su-yi was free and easy. The people of this village were very simple and honest. They let down their guard and got along well with everyone else. Delicious. When the tiger meat and bear paw entered his mouth, Su-yi was full of praise. Paired with the 100-fruit wine, it was simply a delicacy that was hard to come by in one's life. Yummy, yummy. Su Tianke was already in the square, gnawing on a large piece of tiger meat, his mouth dripping with oil. Elder Qingming is back. Sister Shiwei is back. Suddenly, someone transmitted his voice. Outside the village entrance, there were flying demonic beasts circling in the air. Several figures jumped down, and all of them were spirit ancient villages experts. The ones in the lead were Shangguan Qingming and Shangguan Shiwei. Shangguan Qingming, Shangguan Shiwei, and the others returned with heavy hearts. This time, not only did they fail to find the iron-armored rhinoceros, but they also encountered some trouble. Looking at the bright bonfire in the village from afar, the atmosphere was joyful, and they were secretly surprised. Sister Shiwei, Yi-Su is back. He's not dead, he's back. Shangguan Xiao ran out. She knew that Shangguan Shiwei's heart was heavy, but she endured it. She wanted to tell Shangguan Shiwei the news as soon as possible. He's back. When she heard the news, Shangguan Shiwei's tired eyes lit up, and then she was stunned. Sister Shiwei, Yi-Su is really back. He's not dead. Shangguan Xiao said. Swoosh! Essence chi surged, and Shangguan Shiwei rushed out like lightning. Yi-Su isn't dead. When Shangguan Qingming and the other powerhouses heard this, their originally solemn expressions were immediately filled with surprise and joy. Shangguan Shiwei rushed to the square and saw Su-yi surrounded by a group of people of the same age. That familiar figure was now full of vigor, eating meat and drinking wine in big mouthfuls. She stopped, and the light in her eyes surged. Then, she slowly restrained it. After hesitating for a moment, Shangguan Shiwei slowed down her steps and walked over. Sister Shiwei is back. Sister Shiwei. Many people gathered around and saw Shangguan Shiwei. Shangguan Shiwei smiled and walked to Su Yi. Looking at Su Yi, she smiled and said, "One who survives a great disaster is bound for good fortune. Thank you for saving everyone. I didn't see everyone, so I came back by myself." Su Yi smiled and looked at the young girl in front of him. It seemed that in just a few days, her expression had become much more haggard, and she had lost a lot of weight. "It's good that you're fine." Shangguan Shiwei smiled. "Isu, you're really not dead." A hearty voice came. Shangguan Qingming walked forward and saw that Su Yi was really back. His face was filled with joy. "I'm lucky that I'm still alive. I made everyone worried." Su Yi was touched. Everyone went to the Demon Azura mountain to look for him, and they just came back now. "It's a miracle. Tell me what happened." Shangguan Qingming patted Su Yi's shoulder. It was definitely a miracle to be able to escape from the iron-armored demonic rhino's stomach. Su Yi roughly explained. In general, the iron-armored demonic rhino's oil lamp had dried up, and it couldn't support it anymore. That was why he was able to escape from death. One who survives a great disaster is bound for good fortune. Shangguan Qingming and the other experts in the village felt that it was unbelievable, but at the same time, they felt lucky. When Shangguan Qingming and the others learned that Su Yi had killed the rock-splitting demonic tiger of the tribe of tiger hunters and the ground-shield barbaric bear of the wild bear tribe, they were even more shocked. Later, Su Yi found out from Shangguan Qingming that everyone had been delayed in the Demon Azura Mountain until now because they had encountered a barbaric demonic beast expert. The experts of the Spirit Ancient Village had a huge battle with a barbaric demonic beast before they were able to escape. In the square, everyone left late at night. Su Tianke carried a big jar of 100-fruit wine and barbecued meat, and no one knew where he had gone. Most be #FastDollarUpV. Cool Dollar Craftsman at Zero. Su Yi and Shangguan Shiwei went back to the courtyard. "Thank you. See you tomorrow." On the way, the two were silent. When they reached the courtyard, Shangguan Shiwei opened her mouth. "You're welcome." Su Yi nodded and went back to his room. The bear paw and rock-splitting demonic tiger's meat were quite effective. There was energy spreading in Su Yi's body, especially the barbaric demonic beast meat that was about to reach the demonic illusory realm. The effect was even better. There was also the 100-fruit wine. Su Yi drank a lot again. Su Yi closed his eyes and adjusted his breathing. He sat cross-legged and wanted to refine the benefits. Not long after, Su Yi's body was enveloped in a layer of faint light. There was a scarlet color in the light, and the aura was majestic. Chapter 240. Oh, in the depths of the forest, the low growls of beasts could be heard from time to time. At the foot of the Demon Azura Mountain, 30 youths were naked under the moonlight, as if they were enveloped in a layer of silver light. 30 youths were completely naked. Most importantly, these 30 or so youths were standing in a row around a towering tree, tightly bound by the vines. The 30 youths wanted to cry, but had no tears. Their hair was disheveled, and it was a tragic sight. Not far away, a dozen young girls were also tightly bound to a huge rock by tree vines. However, these 10 young girls were in a better state. Although their hair was also disheveled, their clothes were neat. Looking at the 30 naked youths who were tied up, the 10 young girls didn't even dare to raise their heads. Some of the young girls accidentally saw the naked youths in front of them, and their faces immediately turned red. Not far away, there were a few savage beast mounts, and they were even more miserable. The scales of the savage beasts with armor were all stripped off, and they were dripping with blood. It was a tragic sight. The flying barbaric demonic beasts with feathers had all been stripped of their feathers, making them look like giant featherless birds. These savage beast mounts were all lying on the ground with their flesh torn open, and their eyes were filled with despair and shock. To these savage beasts, they felt aggrieved, innocent, and terrified. That human was too cruel, and it left a shadow in their hearts. The 30 youths wanted to cry, but had no tears. They were angry and ashamed, but there was nothing they could do. They were so severely injured that they didn't even have the strength to struggle. Everything on them had been taken by Isu. They had been tied up for almost 2 days, and they had no strength to struggle. Their injuries were very serious. Fortunately, they were at the foot of the demon Azure Mountain. Otherwise, this group of youths would have become food for the savage beasts on the demon Azure Mountain. All of this was naturally done by Su. He couldn't do anything to these kids, but he didn't want to let them go so easily. In the end, Su could only strip these guys naked and tie them up here as a form of punishment and also to vent his anger. In order to prevent these fellows from being devoured by the demon beasts in the demon Azure Mountain, Su had specially ordered the wind-hunting demon eagle to throw these brats down the demon Azure Mountain. Kaka! Xianglai recovered some of his essence chi and clenched his teeth as he used all his strength to break the vines. The group of people also fell limply to the ground. Their bodies were dispirited and powerless as they struggled to get up. Each of them looked for leaves and vines to cover their bodies. Isu, I won't let you off. Some of the youths began to cry. Who would have thought that Isu would actually be so cruel as to strip them naked and tie them together? With so many girls present, how are they going to face others in the future? The darkness before dawn had just passed, and the sound of the stars in the sky slowly disappeared into the sky. In the room, Su Yi's aura fluctuated, emitting bursts of fluorescent light. His aura was blazing hot, and his majestic aura was exceptionally dense. Under the faint crimson light, Su Yi's eyes were tightly shut. His exposed skin was sparkling and translucent, like warm jade without any dirt. The aura fluctuated, long and thick. At this moment, Su Yi's aura was becoming more and more abundant. His body had a crystalline luster, as if he was transforming towards a more perfect state. This was the benefit that Su Yi had obtained from the 100 fruit wine and so much demon beast meat. At this moment, Su Yi's body still contained the remnant energy of the demon core. Along with the Origin Supreme technique, it was slowly being refined. When dawn arrived, Su Yi's aura began to recede, and the light dissipated. After exhaling a mouthful of turbid air, Su Yi opened his eyes. His eyes were dazzling, and a crimson light flashed before returning to clarity. Feeling everything in his body, Su Yi was quite satisfied. Previously, Su Yi broke through too quickly, so he had been compressing and consolidating his cultivation. At this moment, Su Yi's aura finally stopped at the 6th level of the Origin Profound Realm. Isu, we should depart. Shangwan Shiwei's voice sounded. Su Yi walked out of the room and saw Shangwan Shiwei. Shangwan Shiwei had changed into a tight-fitting outfit today, which outlined her graceful figure. Su Yi couldn't help but take a few more glances. Prepare to depart. Everyone is already gathered at the village entrance. Shangwan Shiwei said to Su Yi. A moment later, at the village entrance, Su Yi saw Shangwan Rock, Shangwan Yu, and the others who were preparing to depart. It was a majestic group of people. There were so many of them that almost half of the people in the village were there. The leader was Shangwan Qingming, and there were a few elders that Su Yi had seen before. Roar! The beast's roar was as loud as thunder. A barbaric nether heavenly panther that was 3 feet long and almost 2 feet tall saw Su Yi and immediately roared. Its entire body was covered with thick, blade-like dark scales. On its head that was similar to a lion's head, there was a glittering golden mark. Barbaric nether heavenly panther. Su Yi raised his eyes and saw a colossal creature in front of him. Its aura was terrifying, and its sharp fangs were glowing. It looked at Su Yi with reverence. It should be reaching the 6th level of the demon profound realm soon. PQ's new fastest W / sensing the aura of the barbaric nether heavenly panther, Su Yi was inwardly shocked. A few days ago, the barbaric nether heavenly panther was still severely injured. But now, not only had it fully recovered, it should be reaching the 6th level of the demon profound realm. It should be at the peak of the 5th level of the demon profound realm. Brother Isu, Shangwan Rock, Shangwan Yu, and many others came forward and warmly greeted Su Yi. Brother Chinfeng is here. The crowd was in an uproar, causing a commotion. Screech. A screech pierced through the sky, shaking everyone's eardrums. A huge eagle flapped its wings and flew over. Its eyes were sharp, its beak was like a hook, and its feathers were like scales. Its entire body was as white as jade, and it was emitting a chilling aura. This was the cold jade demonic eagle. It immediately hovered at the village entrance. On the back of the cold jade demonic eagle, Shangwan Chanfeng was wearing a white robe. His figure was tall and handsome, and he looked like he was in his late teens. But his aura was like a sharp sword. Once it was unsheathed, it would be sharp. Standing on the back of the cold jade demonic eagle, he gave off an aura that couldn't be ignored. Brother Chinfeng. Many young men and women greeted him. Shangwan Chinfeng was the #1 in the younger generation of the Spirit Ancient Village. He had an unparalleled charisma among the younger generation, and he was also the representative of the Spirit Ancient Village. Roar! Sensing the cold jade demonic eagle hovering at a low altitude, the barbaric nether heavenly panther raised its head and let out a deep roar. It seemed to be unhappy with the cold jade demonic eagle. Being stared at by the barbaric nether heavenly panther, the cold jade demonic eagle was instinctively afraid. Its body trembled at a low altitude, and it didn't dare to get too close. Chapter 241. All right, let's go. Seeing that Shangwan Chenfeng had arrived, an elder spoke with a smile on his face. However, there was a hint of nervousness and anticipation in his eyes. Screech! The cold jade demonic eagle let out a screech and flapped its wings. It was the first to soar into the clouds and fly out of the village. Oh, in the Spirit Ancient Village, there were also many powerful savage beasts that appeared as mounts. Some experts and elders leaped onto their mounts, but most of them had to walk. Su-Yi did not ride on the barbaric shadow heavenly leopard. Instead, he walked with Shangwan Yi and the rest. However, Su Tianke did not stand on ceremony. He flapped his short wings and had a funny expression on his face. In the end, he climbed onto the back of the barbaric shadow heavenly leopard and leaned against it leisurely. Let's go. The group of people set off towards the location of the competition. From Shangwan Rock and the rest, Su-Yi found out that the competition that occurred once every 10 years would be held at a large square in the middle of the Spirit Ancient Village, the Wild Bear Tribe, and the Tribe of Tiger Hunters. After more than 2 hours, the majestic group of people had almost reached their destination. In front of them, there were also 2 groups of people that appeared. There were flying savage beasts flying at low altitudes. On the ground, there were savage beasts galloping. Their auras were shocking. There were some powerful people riding on them. They were all experts. There were giant bears roaring and tigers growling. The Wild Bear Tribe and the Tribe of Tiger Hunters are here too. Shangwan Rock looked at the 2 large groups in front of them. They were the Tribe of Tiger Hunters and the Wild Bear Tribe. Cool Blacksmith VJ Netsu Yi's gaze swept across the 2 groups. The number of people did not seem to be below that of the Spirit Ancient Village. He could feel the powerful auras from afar. There were also many experts from the Tribe of Tiger Hunters and the Wild Bear Tribe. Then, Su-Yi's gaze landed on a large square not far away. The square was huge. In front of the square, there was a towering mountain that reached into the clouds. The peak of the mountain was shrouded in mist. The 3 groups arrived at the square almost at the same time. Immediately, the square was bustling with people, and it began to become lively and clamorous. This time, the Spirit Ancient Village was in charge of the venue. The people of the Spirit Ancient Village had already arranged everything. In front of the square, there was a high platform with many large chairs with backs placed on it. Many fresh fruits and wine were placed on top of it, and the fragrance of meat assailed the nostrils. It's a frost jade demonic eagle. Among the people from the Tribe of Tiger Hunters, there was a ferocious tiger covered in scales. There was a middle-aged man and 2 little girls who looked to be 6 or 7 years old. Their eyes were clear, beautiful, and cute. Their big eyes were curiously looking at the cold jade demonic eagle that Shangwan Chenfeng was riding. Barbaric nether heavenly leopard. The Spirit Ancient Village is quite lucky. In the Wild Bear Tribe, a middle-aged man jumped down from the shoulder of a giant bear. He was sizing up the barbaric ethereal heavenly leopard in front of the people from Spirit Ancient Village. Roar. A beast's roar was like thunder. In the wild bear tribe, there was a big bear that was almost 2 zhang tall. Its fur was scarlet red, and its aura was ferocious. On its shoulder stood a young man who was as sturdy as a bear. The young man had the back of a tiger and the waist of a bear. The muscles on his body bulged, and he wore an armor that revealed his shoulders. On his chest, there was a golden breastplate that emitted mysterious runes that flickered with light. He was like a young war god from ancient legends. It was Xiongzhan and the fierce scarlet wild bear that he had subdued. In the tribe of tiger hunters, Hu Qi was also at the front, attracting everyone's attention. Hu Qi was still dressed in battle clothes. On his angular face, he had an indescribably fierce and dignified temperament. He was riding a black big tiger that was about 3 zhang tall. It was glaring at him covetously, and its entire body was suffused with a black light. It was the dark abyss demonic tiger. Su Yi's gaze landed on the towering mountain peak in front of the square. Looking at the mountain peak up close, it was even more magnificent and majestic. What a strange aura! Although it was far away, Su Yi felt an extremely special aura from the towering mountain peak. That feeling was very strange, but it disappeared in a flash. Then, it returned to normal, and there was nothing strange. "Brother Su, let's go over there." Shangwan Rock's voice passed into Su Yi's ears. Su Yi came back to his senses, nodded slightly, and followed behind Shangwan Rock. But under the perception of his soul power, Su Yi could easily feel that there were many experts from the tribe of tiger hunters and the wild bear tribe. Hu Qi, Xiong. Su Yi saw Hu Qi and Xiongzhan, the number one of the younger generation of the hunting tiger tribe and the number one of the younger generation of the barbarian bear tribe, but it wasn't the first time they met. From afar, Su Yi felt that the aura of Hu Qi and Xiong was different from last time. Judging from their complexions, Hu Qi and Xiongzhan were both in peak condition. It seemed that the two of them had been preparing for the past few days. "It seems that they are different," Su Yi muttered to himself. Hu Qi's dark demon tiger and Xiongzhan's fierce red wild bear also seemed to be different from last time. But Su Yi was not too surprised. In just a few days, the barbaric spectral heavenly leopard seemed to have improved a lot with the help of the Spirit Ancient Village's resources. It must be the same for the tribe of tiger hunters and the wild bear tribe. In the past few days, they had put in a lot of effort on the dark demon tiger and the fierce red wild bear. On the chairs, there were already some elders and experts from the tribe of tiger hunters, the wild bear tribe, and the Spirit Ancient Village sitting upright. For example, Elder Hu Ben and Elder Xiongsan. Su Yi had already met them before. Some of the people with higher statuses stood behind these powerful elders. For example, Shangwan Rock, Shangwan Shiwei, Su Yi, and the others. Even Hu Qi, Xiongzhan, Shangwan Qinfeng, and the others dismounted from their barbaric beast mounts and stood behind the experts behind them. The meat of this barbaric beast doesn't seem to be simple. It's tiger meat, right? There's also bear paws. It seems that the juniors of the Spirit Ancient Village have gained a lot from the demon Azure Mountain. The experts and elders sat down and saw the fresh fruits, wine, and barbecued meat in front of them. They had sharp eyes and recognized that the meat of the barbaric beasts was not simple. It did not seem to be ordinary barbaric beasts. Shangwan Qingming, the juniors of the Spirit Ancient Village, can't be fake, right? Did you really bring them back from the demon Azure Mountain? Xiongsan curled his lips and asked Shangwan Qingming. He did not believe that these were brought back from the demon Azure Mountain by the juniors of the Spirit Ancient Village. The juniors of the Spirit Ancient Village can't be fake. Shangwan Qingming snorted coldly. However, he was sneering in his heart. These bear paws belong to the wild bear tribe. Shiwei, if I win today, how about marrying me? At this moment, Xiongzhan's gaze fell on Shangwan Shiwei. His goal was simple and direct. He did not hide the desire in his eyes. His voice was also very loud. Shiwei, this girl is not bad. Why don't you marry into the wild bear tribe? Chapter 242. If you marry Shangwan Shiwei, You will be a member of our wild bear tribe." Many youths from the wild bear tribe started to jeer. However, no one from the spirit ancient village was happy about it. Shangguan Shiwei's face turned red as she stared at Xiongzhan. She was so angry that she wanted to stomp her feet, but she didn't know what to say. "You can't win." Shangguan Chenfeng stared at Xiongzhan as his eyes turned sharp. "Shangguan Chenfeng, I will defeat you later." Xiongzhan smiled faintly as he pointed at Shangguan Chenfeng. His muscles bulged as he looked fierce and overbearing. "You're not enough," Shangguan Chenfeng replied as his hair fluttered in the wind. "Huh, it's good for youths to have a temper. In another 20 years, all of this will be yours. But today, let's see who is better." An old man from the wild bear tribe stood up and scanned square. He looked at the sun in the sky and said, "It's about time." The wild bear tribe, the tribe of tiger hunters, and the spirit ancient village will compete with each other every 10 years. I believe everyone is clear about the rules, so I won't waste time to say it again. The spirit ancient village has won the first round. Let the second round begin. His voice was faint and was mixed with Yuan Qi. It was loud enough to reach the ears of no less than 2,000 to 3,000 people. As the voice of the old man from the barbarian bear tribe spread out, the noisy square immediately became silent. Even the barbarian demonic beasts in the surroundings fell silent. Boom! When the old man finished speaking, the square was in an uproar again as the sound waves soared into the sky. Roar! Roar! At the same time, the fierce scarlet wild bear and the dark nether demonic tiger roared as they walked out. Their auras were terrifying. Let the barbaric nether heavenly leopard go. They will fight in a chaotic battle. Whoever remains will be the final winner. Shangguan Shiwei whispered into Su Yi's ear. With Su Yi around, the barbaric nethervoid heavenly leopard would only listen to Su Yi. Be careful of the fierce red wild bear and the dark nether demonic tiger teaming up against you. Take care of the dark nether demonic tiger first. Su Yi walked to the side of the barbaric spectral heavenly leopard and whispered into its ear. Roar! The barbaric spectral heavenly leopard roared. Its black scales flickered with an incomparably profound light as it slowly walked towards the square. Among the fierce scarlet wild bear and the onyx demon tiger, the barbaric nether heavenly leopard was the smallest. However, the invisible aura on its body revealed a kind of kingly aura, causing the other beasts to be fearful for no reason. The three barbaric beasts walked up to the square and stood in 3 different positions facing each other. It was as if they were standing in a tripartite confrontation. In the second round, the 3 barbarian beasts would fight against each other. The one who could survive in the end would be the winner. Both of them are extraordinary. If they grow up, they will become kings among beasts. Seeing the 3 barbaric beasts, the experts discussed among themselves. Regardless of whether it was the dark nether demonic tiger, the fierce scarlet wild bear, or the barbaric nether heavenly leopard, if they could grow up, they would become kings among the barbaric beasts. Su Yi looked at the 3 barbaric beasts in the square. All of them were extraordinary. However, it was hard to say which one of the barbaric beasts would emerge victorious in this chaotic battle. The old man from the wild bear tribe smiled when he saw the 3 barbaric beasts walk up to the square. He looked around and said slowly, but his voice was as long as thunder. He slowly raised his hand and said, "The second round begins now." As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his hand and slammed it down forcefully. Roar! At the same time, the fierce scarlet wild bear suddenly stood up and roared like thunder. It seemed to be showing off to the dark nether demonic tiger and the barbaric nether heavenly leopard. Roar! Roar! How could the barbaric nether heavenly leopard and the dark nether demonic tiger back down? They roared in unison. The tiger's roar was like thunder, and the leopard's roar was earth-shattering. The sound waves were deafening and made one's blood boil for no reason. Roar! As the barbaric nether heavenly leopard roared, a deep black color surged out from its body and charged towards the dark nether demonic tiger. In the past few days, the barbaric nether heavenly leopard's strength had improved significantly. Its vigorous body leaped forward, and its aura was terrifying. The deep black light on its body was like a fog lingering around it. Roar! The fierce scarlet wild bear roared and shook the void. Almost at the same time, it charged towards the dark nether demonic tiger, as if it was prepared. The dark nether demonic tiger didn't intend to make any moves. However, when it saw the barbaric nether heavenly leopard charging towards it, it glared at it, and its aura instantly became fierce. However, when it saw the fierce scarlet wild bear charging towards it, the dark nether demonic tiger's ferocious eyes changed. As for the experts from the tribe of tiger hunters, their expressions changed drastically. The tribe of tiger hunters had originally planned to let the dark nether demonic tiger watch from the sidelines. Then, when the barbaric nether heavenly leopard and the fierce scarlet wild bear were both injured, it would be the best opportunity for them to win. However, now, the fierce scarlet wild bear and the barbaric nether heavenly leopard seemed to have a plan as they charged towards the dark nether demonic tiger. This caused the powerhouses of the hunting tiger tribe to have serious expressions on their faces. He also looked at the field, and his expression changed slightly. The barbaric nether heavenly leopard had won the first round. If it won the next round, the Spirit Ancient Village would be the winner of the grand competition held once every 10 years between the Spirit Ancient Village, the tribe of tiger hunters, and the wild bear tribe. Therefore, he had to be cautious. He was afraid that the dark nether demonic tiger and the fierce scarlet wild bear would team up to finish off the barbaric nether heavenly leopard first. Without a doubt, the barbaric nether heavenly leopard was the easiest target under such circumstances. However, the barbaric spectral heavenly leopard was already about to attack the dark nether tiger. The fierce scarlet wild bear's target was undoubtedly the dark nether tiger. He couldn't help but feel a little surprised. After dealing with the onyx devil tiger, only the barbaric nether heavenly leopard was left. This was probably not a good thing for the scarlet wild bear. He was confused as to why the fierce red wild bear would charge towards the dark demon tiger together. Roar! With a deafening roar, the barbaric spectral heavenly leopard leaped out at lightning speed and pounced on the onyx demon tiger. The barbaric heavenly leopard launched a fierce attack. The aura on its body spread out in all directions. Its foreclaws were like hooks and were extremely sharp. The dark nether demon tiger roared angrily. Black light surged all over its body, and it almost stood up straight. It waved its claws to meet the attack, and opened its bloody mouth to reveal its sharp teeth. Its mouth seemed to be about to spurt out light, and its power was astonishing. #cool #craftsman forever free. Read iNovels *. Both of them have reached the peak LV5 demon profound realm. The surrounding onlookers were shocked. The barbaric nether heavenly leopard and the dark nether demon tiger had both reached the peak LV5 demon profound realm. Their attacks were extremely sharp, and both of them emitted the aura of the barbaric beast kings. Whoosh! In an instant, the two of them collided and separated upon contact. A terrifying shockwave swept out, sending sand and pebbles flying. Boom! Chapter 243. The fierce red wild bear also attacked. Its target was the dark nether tiger. The dark nether tiger had a serious expression, but it had no choice but to face it head-on. As the tiger pounced on its prey, a black light spread out from its body. Even its claws were emitting a black mist. Cracks appeared on the ground where its feet stepped on. Roar! After the barbaric heavenly leopard's attack, its body turned around vigorously. Its body was covered in a dark light. With a leap, it jumped more than 10 feet into the air, and its sharp claws slashed at the dark nether tiger again. Rumble. The three barbaric beasts engaged in a fierce battle the moment they entered the arena. Clang! 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 Puffed. The dark nether tiger and the fierce red wild bear took a hit head-on. Its huge body was immediately pushed back. Tiger blood spurted out from its bloody mouth. The barbaric heavenly leopard's speed was already shocking. At this moment, its attack was extremely fierce. Its sharp claws landed on the back of the dark nether tiger. Swish! The barbaric heavenly leopard tore a few deep wounds on the dark nether tiger's back. Blood flowed out like a fountain. Roar! The tiger roared in pain and anger. A deep black light engulfed it. It staggered back and spat out blood from its bloody mouth. Illo! However, the fierce red wild bear did not stop. Its aura was powerful, fierce, and violent. Its bare paw slammed down. Light exploded, bringing with it the sound of wind and thunder. Waves of air surged. The dark nether tiger roared in anger. It fought fiercely because it was unable to dodge. Swish. However, the result was that the dark nether tiger's huge body was directly sent flying. Blood continued to spurt out as it heavily smashed into the ground of the plaza. The dark nether tiger was heavily injured. Its injuries were serious, and it was on the verge of death. The tribe of tiger hunters has lost this round. This result caused the expression of an elder in the tribe of tiger hunters to change drastically. The dark nether tiger was already heavily injured. It did not have the strength to fight anymore. They could not lose another dark nether tiger. This dark nether tiger would be the king of the barbaric beasts in the future. Wild Bear Tribe, Spirit Ancient Village, are you secretly working together? Elder Hu Ben had an ugly expression on his face. This was different from the hunting tiger tribe's plan. The dark abyss demonic tiger was surrounded by the fierce crimson wild bear and the barbaric spectral heavenly panther as soon as the battle began. Thus, Elder Hu Ben couldn't help but suspect that the tribe of tiger hunters and the Spirit Ancient Village were planning something and were secretly joining hands. Who's working together? The Dark Hell Demon Tiger is just too weak. Elder Xiong San of the Wild Bear Tribe glared at Elder Hu Ben with a disdainful smile. He had already expected this result. This round, he had long known that the Crimson Wild Bear would win for sure. All right, now that we've taken care of one of them, our chances are much higher. Seeing that the Dark Demon Tiger had been defeated, the people of the Spirit Ancient Village were overjoyed. With only a fierce scarlet wild bear left, the barbaric void Heavenly Panther's chances were extremely high. There's only one left. Well done, barbaric Nether Void Panther. Shangguan Rock, Shangguan Yu, and the rest of the youths were very excited as they clenched their fists. Shangguan Chinfeng was also watching the battle closely, his eyes as sharp as swords. However, at this moment, Su Yi wasn't too happy. He felt that something wasn't right, and his eyes were fixed on the fierce scarlet wild bear. Roar! The fierce scarlet wild bear roared as it stared at the barbaric void heavenly panther. Its aura was violent, and its size was huge. It was enough to send chills down the spines of many of the spectators. Roar! The barbaric void heavenly panther was fearless. It emitted the aura of a king and refused to be outdone. It pounced towards the fierce scarlet wild bear. A faint black light shone from it, and its claws were razor sharp. Wherever it passed, the ground would crack. Boom! The raging red wild bear raised its head. Suddenly, a powerful chi rose, shaking the air all around. The sound of wind and thunder could be faintly heard. The bear's paw collided with the claws of the barbaric nether heavenly leopard. Bang! A dull sound like thunder rumbled in the square, and light burst out. Walala! A strong wind swept out like a storm, and the square began to tremble violently. Uffed! Under the shocked gazes of the spectators, the barbaric void heavenly panther was sent flying. Blood spurted out from its mouth, and it landed heavily on the square. The barbaric void heavenly panther's physical body was strong. However, at this moment, its claws were bleeding and its mouth was bleeding. The light on its body dimmed, and it was covered in wounds. How could this be? The spectators from the Spirit Ancient Village, who were overjoyed a moment ago, were shocked. The barbaric void heavenly panther was severely injured in one move. The spectators from the Wild Bear Tribe were surprised as well. Clearly, they didn't expect the fierce scarlet wild bear to be so strong. Only the experts and elders from the Wild Bear Tribe weren't surprised. Instead, they were smiling confidently. Only they knew what had happened. Coincidentally, there was a treasure in the Barbarian Bear Tribe. It was the blood essence of a demon Emperor Realm Scarlet Maniac. In order to win the second round, the wild bear tribe couldn't afford to lose again. Therefore, they gave the blood essence of a demon royal realm fierce scarlet wild bear to the fierce scarlet wild bear. In just 7 days, the fierce scarlet wild bear, who was originally at LV5 demon profound realm, had reached LV7 demon profound realm, and it could continue to break through. Most importantly, after obtaining the blood essence of a demon royal realm fierce scarlet wild bear, the fierce scarlet wild bear cub would become even stronger and have a bright future. LV7 demon profound realm. Su Yi's eyes flickered as he sensed the true aura of the raging red wild bear. It was at LV7 demon profound realm. The raging red wild bear must have obtained more benefits than the barbarian heavenly leopard in the barbarian bear tribe. That was why it was able to break through 2 levels in just a few days. Roar! The fierce scarlet wild bear roared. As the barbaric void heavenly panther fell to the ground, it pounced on the barbaric void heavenly panther again. Retreat! Su Yi shouted at the barbaric void heavenly panther. The barbaric heavenly leopard's bloodline was only slightly better. Even though it was at the peak of the 5th demon profound realm, it had not reached the 6th demon profound realm. It was impossible for it to be a match for a 7th demon profound realm fierce red wild bear. At this moment, Su Yi finally understood why the fierce scarlet wild bear did not want to fight the barbaric void heavenly panther at all. Instead, it wanted to fight the dark devil tiger with the barbaric void heavenly panther. It was well prepared, and it knew that it could crush everything. Stop! The wild bear tribe has won this round. Shangguan Qingming shouted. He had also sensed the aura of the fierce scarlet wild bear and knew that the barbaric void heavenly panther was no match for it. Stop! An elder from the wild bear tribe shouted. As soon as he finished speaking, the fierce scarlet wild bear stopped. Its aura surged as it looked at the barbaric void heavenly panther. Although it was unwilling to admit defeat, it did not continue to attack. The barbaric void heavenly panther stood up. Its body was covered in blood, and its eyes shone with a fierce light. It was unwilling to admit defeat and roared angrily. Stand down. Su Yi asked the barbaric void heavenly panther to stand down. He needed to treat its injuries as soon as possible. We won. We won. Ha ha, good job. The wild bear tribe was excited and excited. The onlookers of the hunting tiger tribe had mixed feelings. The dark-held demonic tiger had been defeated and lost the chance for the second round. The situation was not optimistic at all. However, there were people from the tribe of tiger hunters who were both happy and worried. They were worried that the tribe of tiger hunters had lost the second round, and the situation was dire. Chapter 244. How did that scarlet wild bear's strength increase so much? The wild bear tribe must have invested a lot of treasures into that scarlet wild bear. That's why the scarlet wild bear's strength increased so much in such a short period of time. Many people in the spirit ancient village were discussing among themselves. If the barbarian heavenly leopard had won, the spirit ancient village would have won. However, such an accident had happened. Seems like the barbarian heavenly leopard is not that strong. Xiong San laughed. The wild bear tribe once had a monster emperor scarlet wild bear that died of old age. Maybe it has something to do with it. An old man in the spirit ancient village whispered as he guessed the truth. This matter had happened a long time ago, and only a few old men still remembered it. Shenfeng, you must win the third round. Otherwise, our spirit ancient village will not be able to recover from this setback. The impact will be huge. An expert in the village said to Shangguan Shenfeng. The spirit ancient village had not won for dozens of years. If they lost this chance, it would have a huge impact on the spirit ancient village. The spirit ancient village had won several rounds in the first round, so they still had a big chance. They could not miss it. I will. Shangguan Shenfeng nodded. His eyes were like swords, filled with sharpness. In the tribe of tiger hunters, a group of old men and experts looked solemn. The situation was not good for the tribe of tiger hunters. Whether it was the spirit ancient village or the wild bear tribe, as long as they won the third round, they would win. Hu Chi, it's up to you now. You must hold on. An old man in the tribe of tiger hunters said. The tribe of tiger hunters only had one last chance. If the tribe of tiger hunters won the third round, the tribe of tiger hunters, the wild bear tribe, and the spirit ancient village would each win one round. In a tie, the tribe of tiger hunters would still have a chance. I will defeat them. Hu Chi's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. In the wild bear tribe, an expert lowered his head and said something to Xiongzhan. They will all be defeated by me. They will not be my opponents. Xiongzhan's gaze swept across the tribe of tiger hunters Hu Chi and spirit ancient villages Shangwan Chenfeng, his eyes brimming with confidence. All right, the third round will begin now. Everyone ought to be clearly aware of the rules, but I'll specially emphasize it once more. During the battle, you're not allowed to intentionally use heavy blows or kill moves. Otherwise, you'll be disqualified and severely punished. The old man from the wild bear tribe stood up with a smile on his face. He opened his mouth again, and his voice resounded throughout the square. Now, may the tribe of tiger hunters send out their defenders. Hu Chi, you must hold on. As soon as the old man from the wild bear tribe finished speaking, an old man from the tribe of tiger hunters instructed Hu Chi. Hu Chi didn't say anything else and walked straight to the center of the square. His battle robe fluttered slightly, and the outline of his face was as sharp as a knife. Many young girls around him were secretly moved. 10 years ago, the tribe of tiger hunters won. According to the rules, in the third round, the tribe of tiger hunters will send out their defenders to accept the challenges of the wild bear tribe and the spirit ancient village. The order will be chosen by the tribe of tiger hunters themselves. Shangguan Shiwei whispered in Su Yi's ear, informing Su Yi of the rules of the third round. Su Yi nodded. He didn't know the rules of the third round, but he knew that the tribe of tiger hunters was actually the winner 10 years ago. With this rule, does it mean that the tribe of tiger hunters is at a disadvantage? Su Yi asked Shangguan Shiwei softly. He felt that the tribe of tiger hunters seemed to be at a disadvantage. Without a doubt, the tribe of tiger hunters had to face two challengers one after the other. With the consumption and injuries, they were at a disadvantage. This is the rule. Not to mention, the tribe of tiger hunters won last time. For 10 years, they can enter and obtain benefits. The younger generation has been tempered, so they won't be at a disadvantage. Shangguan Shiwei replied. Speaking of which, the tribe of tiger hunters won't be at a disadvantage. In the square, when Hu Chi walked onto the square, the noisy square gradually quieted down. Everyone's gazes immediately landed on the figure with a chiseled face. No one would look down on Hu Chi, including the experts of the wild bear tribe and the spirit ancient village. Although Hu Chi was still young, he was the #1 expert among the younger generation of the tribe of tiger hunters. This was enough to explain everything. Greetings, elders. Hu Chi will be the defender of the tribe of tiger hunters this time. Hu Chi looked around and then bowed to the elders and experts of the spirit ancient village and the wild bear tribe. His attitude was neither servile nor overbearing, and his temperament was outstanding. Extraordinary. Looking at Hu Chi, the experts of the wild bear tribe and the spirit ancient village couldn't help but praise him. They had to admit that Hu Chi was extraordinary. The challengers of the spirit ancient village and the wild bear tribe, please come on. The elder of the wild bear tribe continued. Brother Chenfeng, you can do it. Look, this is the W version G, Chapter 0. Brother Chenfeng, you must win. Shangguan Rock, Shangguan Yu, and Shangguan Xiu clenched their fists and cheered for Shangguan Chenfeng. Go! The elder of the spirit ancient village was secretly nervous. This time, whether the spirit ancient village could win or not depended on Shangguan Chenfeng alone. Shangguan Chenfeng didn't say anything. Under his white robe, his figure was tall and straight as he slowly walked out. His hair swayed slightly, and his temperament was elegant. He was like a sword that had been sheathed. Once unsheathed, it would be extremely sharp. From the wild bear tribe, a figure that was as muscular as a bear walked out. He had a strong back and a bare waist. His whole body was bulging with muscles, and his temperament was fierce and brave. This figure was Xiongzhan. He wore shoulder armor, and on his chest was a golden breastplate that emitted mysterious runes. It shone brightly, making him look like the legendary ancient war god. When these three outstanding figures walked onto the square, everyone's eyes trembled. Brother Hu Qi is the strongest. Brother Xiongzhan, defeat them. Brother Qinfeng, you can do it. In the square, shouts and cheers gathered and soared into the sky, resounding in all directions. The battle between the strongest of the younger generation was deafening, and it made people's blood boil. Then, in the middle of the square, Hu Qi's eyes were dazzling as he looked at Shangwan Qinfeng and Xiong Finally, his gaze landed on Shangwan Qinfeng. He pointed at Shangwan Qinfeng and said, Shangwan Qinfeng, you go first. When he finished speaking, Shangwan Qinfeng raised his eyes and looked at Hu Qi. A bright light flashed in his eyes, and at this moment, his aura was like an unsheathed sword. His white robe fluttered in the wind, and it shook the square. Hu Qi chose Shangwan Qinfeng first, because he thought that Xiongzhan was more difficult to deal with than Shangwan Qinfeng. In this kind of battle, everyone would choose the weaker one first. Seeing that Hu Qi had chosen Shangwan Qinfeng, Xiongzhan smiled faintly and stood to the side. I respect your choice, but you will regret it in a moment. Shangwan Qinfeng stared at Hu Qi. His voice was exceptionally sharp, as if it was filled with a kind of sharpness. Chapter 245. When Hu Qi's words fell, the atmosphere in the square froze for no reason. The tit-for-tat confrontation had reached its peak. You'll know soon enough. Shangwan Qinfeng opened his mouth. Instead of being angry, he was happy. There was even a slight smile on his face. However, everyone could feel that the fierce aura on Shangwan Qinfeng's body was getting stronger and stronger. As the two of them confronted each other, the spectators in the square were extremely quiet. Facing the two young people in the square, even some of the arrogant young people from the Spirit Ancient Village, Wild Bear Tribe, and Tribe of Tiger Hunters had to maintain some respect. Strength reigned supreme. Even in this utopia-like place, it was the same. The two people in the square looked at each other. Their gazes intertwined and were filled with light. They did not speak, but the atmosphere was even more tense. He looked at the two people in the square. Judging from their auras, it was difficult to determine who had the upper hand. Whether it was Hu Qi or Shangwan Qinfeng, they were both well-known figures among the younger generation. If they were outside, they would probably be as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. You can start now. Remember, don't purposely use too much force. The old man from the Wild Bear Tribe said, faintly. Let's start. Strength speaks for itself. At the same time, the old man from Barbarian Bear Tribe finished speaking. Hu Qi stomped his foot forward. When his foot landed, a muffled explosion rang out from under his foot. Boom! Go to the place where Hu Qi's foot landed. Under everyone's gazes, sand and stones flew around. There were small cracks on the ground in the square that extended out. An invisible gust of wind spread out and pervaded towards Shangwan Qinfeng's feet. Shangwan Qinfeng immediately looked up, and his eyes darkened. A vigorous origin qi suddenly burst out from his body. The origin qi was exposed and formed a origin qi light shield. Similarly, he stomped his foot, and origin qi gushed out and collided with the origin qi. Boom! The two origin qi collided and instantly surged out. At this moment, a ferocious aura erupted from Tiger Qi's body. A crimson-red Yuan Qi light shield burst out from his body and enveloped him. At the same time, a mighty aura erupted from his body. Very strong, as expected of the number one of the younger generation. Many of the experts present, including some of the elders and experts from the Barbarian Bear Tribe, expressed their admiration for the two young men. After the two of them probed each other, the field once again fell into a strange silence. However, this silence lasted for a while before it finally exploded. As the light in Shangwan Qinfeng's and Hu Qi's eyes brightened at the same time, the tense atmosphere completely exploded. The two figures were like light and shadow as they shot out explosively. His speed was too fast. Unless one was at the origin spirit realm, it would be difficult for one to see him clearly. In an instant, The two figures, which were like arrows that had left the bowstring, violently collided with each other in the square. A huge impact force directly swept out. Bang, bang, bang. Their speed was too fast. The two figures were inconceivably fast. Fists collided, palms overlapped, and it felt as if their fists were hitting flesh. Yuan Qi constantly collided, surging out in all directions. Rings of energy gales spread out in all directions. Bang! A low explosion sounded out as the two blurry figures crossed each other. They each took a few steps forward before stabilizing their bodies. The two figures stood back to back. Shangguan Qinfeng's hair was slightly messy as his white robe fluttered in the wind. Tiger Qi's figure came to a stop as the ground beneath his feet cracked. Ding! A treasured sword was unsheathed. A treasured sword appeared in Shangguan Qinfeng's hand. Under the infusion of Yuan Qi, it was instantly covered in light as a sharp aura swept out. This aura also contained a kind of icy aura, causing the surrounding temperature to suddenly drop a little. Su Yi looked at the treasured sword in Shangguan Qinfeng's hand. He felt that compared to the Yuan weapon blade on his back, it should be much stronger. Wong. Wind and thunder clashed, shaking the air. Tiger Qi's hand tightly grasped the long rod. It was completely red and had mysterious runes flickering on it. They're no longer probing, they're going all out. On the field, an expert said. The whole field was silent. The people from the Spirit Ancient Village and the tribe of tiger hunters held their breaths as they stared at the two young figures on the field. Continue. When the long rod and treasured sword were unsheathed, the Yuan Qi under the two's feet also swept out as they turned around and fiercely clashed again. Crackle! Swordlight swept out as the long rod was raised. Sparks flew as rings of energy spread out. Ancient Scarlet Fire Rod. This is the king-grade martial skill of the tribe of tiger hunters. Tiger Qi is able to practice singing and use it to such an extent. He is indeed extraordinary. Shangguan Qinfeng is using the Ice Shadow Sword art of the Spirit Ancient Village, which is also a king-grade martial skill. It's a pity that Shangguan Qinfeng is at a disadvantage. Tiger Qi's main attribute is fire, which is more or less disadvantageous for him. The surrounding experts whispered to each other, but their words were full of praise for the two young men on the field. Clang, clang, time after time, Tiger Qi's attacks were fast and fierce. The long rod in his hand brought about a strong wind that tore the air apart, causing pain in the ears of the spectators. Shangguan Qinfeng's sword light was like frost. The cold qi was oppressive. The sword light shot out in all directions as if it was carrying frost. The sword and rod collided. The sound was intense and crisp, and sparks flew everywhere. The surrounding onlookers also stared intently at the scene. Su Yi had been watching carefully. Shangguan Qinfeng and Tiger Qi's martial skills were extraordinary and had an ancient aura. Brother Su, can your brother Qinfeng win? Shangguan Rock was very nervous. Seeing that Su Yi was also carefully sizing up the battle, he asked in a low voice. Hearing this, Su Yi's eyes moved slightly and shook his head. It was really hard to judge. The two people on the field were not simple. Up until now, they seemed to have used their full strength, but Su Yi felt that the two of them had not used their full strength yet. They were holding back. If that's all you have, then let's end this. Suddenly, there was a change in the field. The aura on Shangguan Qinfeng's body surged once again. Suddenly, the aura on his body rose to the peak. With his body as the center, it was as if the air was filled with frost. 6th level of the Yuan Profound Realm. Shangguan Qinfeng has actually reached the 6th level of the Yuan Profound Realm. When such an aura swept out and no longer held back, the entire field was instantly filled with astonished voices. When Hu Qi saw Shangguan Qinfeng's unrestrained aura, a trace of light flashed in his eyes, as if he didn't care much about it. 6th level of the Yuan Profound Realm. Brother Qinfeng has reached the 6th level of the Yuan Profound Realm. When they felt Shangguan Qinfeng's 6th level of the Yuan Profound Realm aura, Shangguan Rock Shangguan Xiao, and the rest of the younger generation of the spirit ancient village were extremely excited. Chapter 246. Shangguan Qinfeng was the first to be exposed, and he seemed to be a little impatient. Judging from Hu Qi's expression, he didn't seem to be moved. The outcome might not be good. Su Yi naturally hoped that the spirit ancient village would emerge victorious in today's contest. First of all, he had feelings for the spirit ancient village. Furthermore, if Shangguan Qinfeng lost, Su Yi knew that he wouldn't be able to obtain the promise that would benefit his soul force. Therefore, Su Yi was rather worried. I shadow strike. When Hu Qi no longer held back his aura, a white glow flashed across Shangguan Qinfeng's eyes. He gripped his sword tightly and raised it. In an instant, rays of sword light shot out. Swish, swish. The sword light gathered and turned into a blooming flower. It carried an icy aura and enveloped Hu Qi at the same time. Hu Qi's eyes darkened and revealed a cold smile. The long rod in his hand rushed out like a dragon. He smiled coldly at Shangguan Qinfeng and said in a faint voice, 6th level of the Yuan Profound Realm. You've only just stepped foot into the Yuan Profound Realm. As for me, I've already been there 10 months ago. When Hu Qi finished speaking, the aura on his body suddenly erupted. Boom! The blazing aura exploded like a mini-storm. In an instant, Hu Qi's aura of the peak of the 6th level of the Yuan Profound Realm swept out, without holding back. The sudden change attracted the attention of the surrounding crowd. Immediately, many eyes were filled with astonishment. Su Yi frowned. At this moment, Hu Qi's aura suddenly increased and became extremely tyrannical. Compared to before, it was more than twice as tyrannical. As expected, he was holding back and waiting to strike. Su Yi muttered with a grave expression. Hu Qi wasn't a reckless man. He had been waiting for an opportunity, waiting for Shangguan Qinfeng to lose his patience. Break! Hu Qi shouted. On the long rod in his hand, a blazing aura exploded. Traces of blazing energy accompanied by a flame-like radiance swam around his body and the long rod like tiny fire snakes. Hu Qi's lips curved into a strong smile. The long rod carried a terrifying blazing wind and fiercely collided with Hu Qi Bang Bang. The sudden change happened so quickly that some of the spectators who didn't have enough cultivation had yet to recover from their shock. Ding, ding, dang, dang. The sound of metal clashing resounded as sparks flew in all directions. The long staff and the sword continued to collide. Shangguan Qinfeng's feet were pushed back, and the small cracks on the ground beneath his feet started to crack. Ding, ding. After taking 13 steps, Shangguan Qinfeng's foot fiercely landed on the ground. The ground beneath his foot completely crumbled, and the sword in his hand dimmed. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Hu Qi, when the blood spurted out, Shangguan Qinfeng's body staggered back 3 steps before stabilizing his body. At this moment, the treasured sword in Shangguan Qinfeng's hand seemed to be powerless. Traces of blood flowed out from the web between his thumb and forefinger. When this scene appeared, the eyes of the experts and elders in the spirit ancient village immediately trembled. The light in their eyes lost its luster, while their bodies, which were seated on the chairs, also became a little slack. This time, the spirit ancient village was still defeated. Defeated, Su Yi's eyes flickered. Hu Qi's attack was so powerful that it shocked Su Yi. Su Yi had seen cultivators at the 8th or 9th level of the profound origin realm before, but when he felt the power of Hu Qi's attack, his heart couldn't help but tremble. Hu Qi's attack was comparable to an ordinary 7th level profound origin realm cultivator. In the arena, Hu Qi kept his long staff, and the aura on his body surged. He looked at Shangguan Qinfeng and said indifferently, Shangguan Qinfeng, you've lost. Give me 3 more months, and you won't be able to break my icy shadow strike. Shangguan Qinfeng raised his eyes. His face was already deathly pale as he looked at Hu Qi with a dazed gaze. But a defeat is a defeat. You don't have the strength to fight anymore, Hu Qi said with a pale face. He did not refute Shangguan Qinfeng's words, as if he had acknowledged Shangguan Qinfeng's strength. If Shangguan Chunfeng was given 3 more months, he might not have been able to defeat him. That's right. A defeat is a defeat. Shangguan Chunfeng said as he turned around and retreated. Brother Chunfeng has lost. In the spirit ancient village, all the youngsters were at a loss. Brother Hu Qi is invincible. Brother Hu Qi is too powerful. Compared to the tribe of tiger hunters, the younger generation was boiling with excitement. In the arena, many eyes were filled with astonishment. I didn't expect Hu Qi to have reached the peak of the 6th level of the profound origin realm. Not bad. Hu Qi has been tempered since he was young, but Shangguan Chunfeng didn't. They're about the same age. If Shangguan Chunfeng had been tempered as well, the result might have been different. Some of the elders were discussing and praising Hu Qi's strength. No one thought that Shangguan Chunfeng was weak. After all, it was extremely rare for the younger generation to reach such a stage. I'm sorry I've lost. Shangguan Chunfeng left the arena and slowly walked to the front of the spirit ancient village's formation. He looked at the elders, experts, and the crowd and bowed with dim eyes. It's not your fault. You've done your best. Shangguan Qingming opened his mouth and handed over a healing elixir to Shangguan Chunfeng. Quickly consume it to heal your injuries. Shangguan Chunfeng didn't say anything, but took the elixir and stuffed it into his mouth. Tiu Su clearly saw that Shangguan Chunfeng's hand was squeezing the elixir. At this moment, Shangguan Chunfeng was more disappointed and helpless than anyone else when the spirit ancient village lost. Brother Chunfeng, it's fine. Shangguan Rock, Shangguan Xiao, and the others also stepped forward and whispered to Shangguan Chunfeng. I'm sorry. I'm afraid I won't be able to fulfill my promise to you. When the time comes, I'll ask my grandmother to compensate you. Shangguan Shiwei whispered to Su Yi. It's fine. Su Yi shook his head. Although he was a little disappointed, Su Yi felt that his disappointment wasn't because he couldn't obtain the soul spirit's benefits, but because the spirit ancient village didn't win. In these few short days, Su Yi had a very good impression of the spirit ancient village and had integrated himself into the village. Looking at Su Yi's face, Shangguan Shiwei didn't say anything else. She then looked at the arena and said, I didn't expect Hu Qi to be at the peak of the 6th level of the Yuan profound realm. He is indeed very strong. Su Yi nodded. Hu Qi was undeniably strong. If it were you, would you be able to defeat Hu Qi? Shangguan Shiwei looked at Su Yi and asked, This that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.